Yes, Dr. Mandeep, we can go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. Before I formally welcome to every participant, happy Olympic Day. And this is the time that we have to learn number of things, and we are really experienced with number of things. Firstly, we have started with we thought of starting with for celebrating the International Yoga Day, and now it's the Olympic Day. This is how the sports is. This is how the body movement education system is coming up, and people are really aware of the things that how the things are really working on, what the real value of these things are. I welcome everyone, and I welcome my special heartiest welcome to Professor Alexander. In spite of his some health issues, and sir has managed to appear before us. Sir, we are really obliged by you. We are really happy. We are really obliged by you. With all due regards and respect to the Honorable Vice Chancellor of Cluster University of Jammu, I have the privilege to represent Cluster University of Jammu, and on behalf of whole family of Cluster University of Jammu, I welcome each and every participant. I welcome each and every panelist without wasting much of the time. So we start, and today's first session, we'll be starting with the moderator. So I welcome the moderator of the first session, Dr. Chetna Chaudhary, Assistant Professor, Rajasthan University, Jaipur. Our chairperson will be Dr. Jhanjaria Alan, UPE, Madhya Pradesh, India. And our special resource person is better to be introduced from the moderator only, because she is very specified in these things. Thank you, Dr. Chetna. Please go ahead, Dr. Chetna, please.
Thank you, sir. I, Dr. Chetna, welcome you all in the International Seminar on Empowering Society through Education, Yoga, and Olympic Well. As today the world is celebrating International Olympic Day, so I want to wish all of you happy International Olympic Day. Let the Olympic spirit always be the guiding light of our life. Without delaying the session, now I would like to welcome Chairperson Dr. Virendra Jhanjaria. Welcome, sir. Dr. Virendra Jhanjaria is presently working as Assistant Professor in the Department of Exercise Physiology, Lakshmibai National Institute of Physical Education, Gwalior, India. He has more than 16 years of teaching experience and training in the field of physical education and sports. He delivered more than 200 lectures for various national, international conferences, workshops, refresher, orientation programs, and published more than 30 research papers in international and national journals and proceedings. After completing his bachelor's, master's, MPhil, and PhD, he has also done international coaching diploma in journal conditioning and fitness from University Budapest, Hungary. He has done World Squash Federation Level 1 coaching course 2018. He played many tournaments in many sports and events, and I don't feel that there are many of the important achievements, so I'm going on that. He has represented India in the continent in the World Masters Squash Championship in Johannesburg, South Africa. He also served as coach of the medalist women team of Madhya Pradesh in 68 Senior Basketball Championship. He has many achievements, and it's my pleasure to welcome you, sir. Sir, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's from me to welcome our guest. Welcome distinguished speaker, Professor Alexei.
Dr. Chetna, your voice is breaking a lot. Could you please come little closer to the screen, maybe?
Is it not audible? Excuse me.
Yeah, it's a bit break.
Just give me.
Now it is clear. Go ahead.
Chairperson, can you take on, please, sir?
I think now it is clear. You can go ahead.
Okay. welcome our today's distinguished speaker, Mr. Professor Alexander. He is a professor in exercise sports program at University Science Malaysia. His area of expert cover training and exercise methodology, talent evaluation and development, performance analysis, and coaching sciences. Teaching experience include the Key State Institute of Physical Culture as a senior lecturer and associate professor from 1990. His applied science experience in 1993.
Okay, Dr. Chetna, I think your voice is not reaching. So let me introduce Dr. Alexander. Uh, Sir, you have a wide experience, and it is difficult to bring into the words. You have applied science experience in 1993 to 2002, involved worked with the Sports Authority of India as training method expert, in charge in talent identification schemes, and as site coordinator of scientific support to the national teams in more than 10 different sports in preparation to 1994, 1998, and 2002 Asian and Commonwealth Games, and 1996 and 2000 Olympics. So it was a wonderful service given to the Indian athletes. He is American Council on Exercise certified personal trainer, lifestyle and weight management consultant, and health coach. He has been recipient of Teaching Excellence Award in USM in 2006, Best Paper Award in the International Conference in 2008 and 2013. He has authored 90 plus journal articles, 5 book chapters, and 3 books on exercise and sports training methodology. His membership in professional bodies include European College of Sports Sciences, Asian Council of Exercise and Sports Science, and National Association of Physical Education and Sports Science of India. He is a PhD thesis external examiner for more than 10 universities and for different countries. So it is a huge experience, and I hope we all must get benefited from your experience. So Dr. Alexander, I heartily welcome you in our conference. And Dr. Alexander, Professor Alexander will be talking to us today on a very important area, that is effective school physical education, a pathway to sports excellence. So definitely we are very keen to hear from you, Professor Alexander. So over to you, please, sir.
All right, good morning, everyone. And thank you so much, Dr. Birendra, for introducing me in such a humble and nice manner. Thank you. And of course, I would like to express my gratitude to the Vice Chancellor of Cluster University and to Prof. Benu, who actually invited me to become the part of such a outstanding gathering. And thanks again for giving me that opportunity to speak. And apologies, I have some minor voice issues, which I am sure will be no issue today. And thanks again, and let me share my presentation. However, I have to request you to make my sharing button active, because it shows that it is disabled.
Dr. Mandeep, can you take care of it?
Okay, I can see it now.
I'm making you co-host, so that can be easy for you. I'm making the co-host also.
All right. Thank you so much. I can see it now, and I hope you can see the presentation as well.
It's visible, sir.
Thanks again. So bear with me if I speak lazily or not that impressive as I like it to be today. But okay, let's go ahead. And the title today is School Physical Education. How is it effective? Is it? And how it actually can and has to be a pathway to sports excellence. So let's have a look. The points of interest today are at the same time also the points of concern. And typically that is because of the following issues. Physical education, is it impactful or is it wasteful? We have to answer that. At the same time, what are the models of physical education available around the world? And also, where is that link between actual physical education and sports excellence? So these are the major issues we are going to discuss today. So let's begin. Impactful or wasteful? There are few features of physical education which are to be discussed and which are actually influencing the whole system. These are the three. How is it organized? How is it assessed? And what is eventually achieved as a result of it? So if you look in a parallel lines at this particular slide, we can see that mostly when we talk about organizing physical education, it is typically either generalized or sport specific. How is it? Talking schools, we are either based it on physical activities, and then it's an upper line, or we actually support or base it on sport specific physical education, which is a lower one. So how does it matter? It does, because if you follow generalized PE, then assessment has to be by typically percentage of improvement. And it is not because we don't want to compare it to norms or standards, but rather because there are no such standards. And then percentage of improvement can be, if not the only one, but major way of assessment. And then obviously, if we do follow that horizontal line, we arrive to the outcomes, which typically will be health oriented. And we all know what is it, so there is no need of explaining that. On the contrary, if we follow the line of sport-specific physical education, we will face the assessment which will have to be done by norms and standards, and many countries do have those. And then eventually that makes the system performance-oriented. So if I may use a different bit terminology, the generalized PE will become process-oriented, whereby health benefits are achieved. And the sport-specific one will be more of performance-oriented, whereby the performance is an objective. However, there obviously will be interaction, overlapping, in the good meaning of the word, between the two. And then eventually, when we start looking at the available models and reaching kind of the second part of our presentation, we will figure out that, yeah, okay, there are generalized PE models in the world, existing, successful. There are specialized physical education models around the world, also successful. And there are also mixtures or mixed ones, whereby scientists, physical educationists, teachers are trying to actually get the best of these two. And that brings us to the second point of the presentation, which I'd like to share with you. It's actually based on one Interesting book published in 2014 with 50 countries around participating, sharing the best practices in physical education. It was a very good book. I managed to contribute a chapter of my home country, Ukraine. One bad part about this book is there is no chapter from India. And that's not a good thing to happen. It should have been there. I don't know why is it not there, but it is important. So what are the models? Well, let's have a look. I'll introduce a few countries from various continents because it's not possible to talk about everyone. Australia, obviously a successful one. Students enjoying PE and health education combined, 50% each in the totality of PE. Introduced in primary schools, general teachers are in charge of delivering PE, so anyone can do it in the school, any teacher. However, secondary school, it has to be a specialist teacher of PE, properly trained, properly educated. They look at PE as a foundation of lifelong physical activity, which is of course true. Curricular models actually are encouraging to promote regular physical activity, including outside school settings, and to try kind of contacting or linking schools and community. They even developed a particular program, active after-school community, which inspires actually students or school kids to join a local sporting club. So we can see the elements of that link of physical education and sports in many countries as such. And Australia is one of them. Next country, Austria. So I'm bringing you to Europe. It's a small country in Europe, bordering Germany. And surprisingly or not, physical education is not a priority there, although mandatory, but amount, content, employment can be actually decided by schools. And specifically I marked it in red because it's a bit uncommon for Europe, but not uncommonly PE classes tend to be perceived as one of the earliest dispensable items. It happens in many countries as well. So that is a common problem, obviously. Belgium, another European country, not a big one, not a very sporting nation. Surprisingly, however, well-developed both theory and practical issues of physical education. Mandatory lessons, 50 minutes each per week, preschool, elementary, and secondary. Focusing on daily lifestyle and social engagement. And of course, development of positive attitude towards physical activity. Interestingly, they are dividing that part into movement-related competencies, which are motor competencies, the ways of movement, develop a healthy, fit, and safety lifestyle. They are also paying attention to personality-related competencies, which is really a big deal. And here we have developed positive self-concept, developed social behavior. They go in further. They kind of split it into primary education and secondary. Have a look. In primary, basic movements, running, jumping, and so on, play and games, dance and expression, which can be obviously a part of Indian PE as well, moving in different environments. Example, open air, water. Secondary education, however, as you can see, is becoming a bit sport specific. So we obviously have a mixed model here. Gymnastics, athletics, self-defense, and again, other activities involved. Surprisingly or not, they are moving even further. They say, okay, 5 complementary extracurricular components, which is, I would say, a bit unusual. So what? Sports and PE during lunch breaks. active schoolyards, active commuting to school, integrative health education, after school, and so on and so forth. So they do have recommendations on that, and those are pretty interesting to study. I will not go in depth about it now because I shared the lecture notes with the organizers. That most probably can be shared with the participants. They want to have a look. They're most welcome. Hungary. Check it out. Health-oriented, understanding health values, and importance of PE in daily life. Main areas of PE in the national curriculum. Serious theory behind it. What does it include? Motor learning, physical fitness, playing games, competing, prevention, lifestyle, and health improvement. Values. See, we all know about values, but it is not always happening that those values are actually reaching practicality. So in Hungary, they are obviously serious about values of PE, and they are specifying at least 4 clusters with, of course, subcategories mentioned here, which are social values, pedagogic values, biological values, and physical values. So again, in the same logic, you can have a look, and participants can also pay attention. What are the subcategories of those 4 major values? Hungary is also a sporting nation. So they also developed a very serious model of sports talent education model. And it is about offering both physical education and sports training. And gradually towards the older age, sports training becomes more important. It becomes having kind of more volumes as compared to physical education, but still both are present, and obviously that would be more of a combined or mixed model. Italy. We all love Italy for various reasons, and surprisingly or not, these guys went into exergaming. Popular trend, not very physical, but that's what Italians do with their physical education. Exergaming, achieving social cognitive development as required by school program, introducing new technologies, obviously, and also stimulus to combat sedentary lifestyle and start motor activity in order to foster well-being. Now, one of the most surprising parts, I would say, of Europe, to me, Luxembourg. It's not a small, it's kind of microscopic country, a tiny one of the smallest in Europe. Check it out. National plan, eat healthy, move more. Label, minimum motor standards, stimulation physical education, motivation, promotion of smart mobility, informal sports, completing an improvement of local and national offers, reinforce the place of sports at school, and more importantly, main partners. So who are the stakeholders? And these are also pinpointed to be realistically taken care of and promote that stuff. That was really impressive. It was really good to me as well. They went even further. Competencies at the end of grade 9, 11, and 13. So they actually distributed everything and nicely worked out the theory and cluster-wise belonging what has to be there at every level. Just example, to preserve and increase physical capability, aware of warming up, stretching, endurance. It's really a serious document, and I realistically recommend our participants to have a look later after the conference. And that is still not the last point they did. Even more impressive. Basic motor qualifications and answer to the questions. What movement abilities should children have at certain age? And that is really impressive. And what is even more impressive, they are doing it on the level of minimum required competencies, not based on abilities like it is in Germany, for instance. And they again describe running, jumping, ball game, artistic movements, and they are giving test items, all well described. I'm sure they also have norms and standards, which at the end of the day, I would request all Indian scholars to work for. Please go get your children norms and standards, growth and development. It is much more important than doing PhD thesis based on basketball, volleyball, kho-kho, kabaddi players. No offense of a particular university. Growth and development, Indian children, endless, priceless, and with absolute practical implementation. To the next part of my presentation. Canada. Popular these days, successful, healthy. Introducing physical literacy into their physical education. The part, which is also quite popular in India as far as I know, and how they actually, they are even giving the definition of it. Individuals who are physically literate move with competence, confidence, in a wide variety of physical activities in multiple environments that benefit the healthy development of a whole person. Great. And they do develop it further. They developed 9 strategies, which are also presented here. And the acronym is education. All right. It includes all these 9 circles overlapping, actually developing the form of the foundation of a positive learning environment, supporting students in becoming physically literate. It's really a great initiative. And as I say, it is also in turn developed in India. China. China is, of course, we can talk hours about it. I want you to pay attention to the table. Absolutely mandatory, every level. Critically prescribed, physical activities involved, so sports involved, education. You have to have 4 years undergrad education to teach in high school PE. You have to have 3 years to teach in junior school PE and 2 primary. Really serious. Different activities, different norms, compulsory. Sorry, moving to Africa. I would like to talk about the Indian chapter here, but that I'm afraid is for Indian scholars still to cover. Africa. Kenya, famous for long distance runners, enhancing physical wellness, health, social part, compulsory level, PE. However, considered as non-academic program because typically there is not much of theories involved. They are practically only practical. Sorry for redundancy. However, teachers of physical education being taught theories while in teachers training college. Attitude, however, is not that good. And scientists confirm that even students pursuing PE programs in the universities are regarded by their peers as dull, unintelligent. PE teachers are regarded as a second-rate persons. Absolutely not fair. Only one institution trains physical education teachers. That's why a shortage of course is there, perhaps an attitude as well. Nigeria, showing you as an example of a country whereby sports is getting into serious attention. So, encouraging sporting talent in various communities, adopt a talent program, very popular. Also, requesting communities to support schools. 6 to 17 years of age, admissions, screening every 3 months. Last bullet, pay attention please. All these sports have been included in NSTC program, which I remember from my first stint in India, 1988 to 1990. I was among the developers. It was like so many years ago, it's even hard to imagine. It is there in India. Somehow requires perhaps a bit more improvements, but still there. Should be reintroduced. Finally, reaching my place. 3 points to mention, not to take advantage, and time is also not there. 3 things we introduced which were different from previous version. Number 1, allowing children to kind of go into physical education more than into sports. Previously it was typically sports oriented, no more. The next was that health benefits and fitness combined. The third, linked to age-related features of growth and development, meaning curriculum is done based on, so to say, sensitive periods. And it is now different completely. The approach in primary is different from the approach in secondary and different from the approach to physical education in higher school. How? Primary school, no sports involved, just, we call it schools of movement. 7 different schools, prerequisitions. School of movement culture. Gymnastics, acrobatics, marching, moving, walking, locomotions, running, dance steps, climbing, clearing obstacles. School of ball movement, not playing necessarily the game, rather catching, throwing, anticipation, some very, very basic things. School of jumps, waltz, jumps, skipping rope, something which is really will work in future. Active rest, hiking, outings, motor qualities, another school which is actually physical, more about fitness. And eventually school of posture, the one I'm always missing. Sit straight, breathe properly, core muscles, and so on and so forth. Completely different at secondary school, whereby 15 sports-based variable modules are introduced, and each school has a right to pick whatever modules they want. Minimum supposed to be 8, as far as I remember, but also depends on the scale of the school, the people involved, so it becomes sport specific. And eventually, at the 3rd level, after standard 9, it also becomes a bit professional related. So elements of self-defense, elements of military service, firefighting, first aid. So it becomes a completely different category as such. So these are the 3 modules which I wanted to discuss with you now. Finally, in the remaining 15 minutes, let us talk about sports excellence. How do we stick to it, and is there realistically a passage from PE to sports excellence? Let us have a look. The range. Olympic body. See, the largest Olympian and the smallest one. The tallest, 2 meters 19 centimeters, 110 kilos of weight, and the shortest and the lightest, 136, 30 kilo of weight. What does it mean? It means a simple thing. Every other Olympian is between these two. No one is of equal height. No one is of equal weight. They are all different. We somehow think that, oh, they are so that way, that way. Let us have a look how they are. The next few slides are with little clothing involved, but you will bear with me. It is sports, it is physical activities. Check the Olympic level.
Professor Alexander, may I interrupt you?
Yeah.
Sir, we are running a bit short of time, so if you can wind up a bit early, please. So
Okay.
Just a request.
Noted. Yeah. Let me try. Okay. So
Thank you.
Thank you. I think my original request backfired at me, right? You know. Okay. So now, see, those are people who are elite athletes, men and women. All are different. And I specifically put it here. Who are those? Are those aliens or those your classmates? Now, they're all different. They can be easily picked from different classes in the school. So now, where does it start? The whole thing starts with talent detection. And this is where it is important that talent detection should not be only related to sports. It should be related to physical education. Because most of the time, children are spending in schools, and they are physically active in physical education. And that is why I am actually suggesting an approach which says that talent development is actually happening long before talent identification for a particular sport. It starts even during conception, I guess. Talent is developed before sports. And before sports is where? In schools. That is why I am suggesting the approach which actually suggests to kind of divide it into pre-detection talent development and post-detection talent development. This is a scheme which again I, in the shortage of time, will not pay much attention. However, if you look at it as the years of schooling, see, pre-detection talent development is related to schools, to PE curriculum, to PE teachers, and teachers are the people who are developing the talent, not coaches. Coaches only deal with that after they pick that kid from school and bring it to sports. And more importantly, that if that kid is not brought to sport, it remains in physical education continuum. So development should continue, and talent development is again in school. Even if the school kid is kind of quitting a particular sport, which has been selected originally, he or she is again back to school and back again to physical education. And that is why physical education has to be the most important part of that talent development. So, and talent identification actually has to happen at a particular age. And here is example, at different sports, different age of enrollment. And if you look at the age, it is not necessarily that it's 7 or 8, it's kind of 7 to 9, 10 to 12, and 13 to 14. You can pick a kid for a different sport at any age. It is not pick them young, it's pick them at correct age. It can be 7 years of age kid, it can be 10 years, 12, 13. The only difference is the sport to which you pick that kid for. So it has to be a particular optimum age. Like what? 7 years old children are only interested to who? Gymnastics, acrobatics. They are of no interest to anyone else because it's too early. At the same time, kids which are older than that, at 10, they will be of interest to volleyball, basketball, and so they are still of no interest to boxing, wrestling, or weightlifting. Why? Too early again. But they are also going for gymnastics and so on and so forth. So that brings us to the point, which is one of the most important in my presentation. Any given kid can be exposed to talent identification many times, multiply, at various ages, and to various sports. Why? Not every athlete happens to be successful at the first choice of sport. Quite often parents are picking that sports for those kids. And many elite athletes, hundreds, have actually started their sports career not in the sports where they began, where they achieve world-class excellence. And that is why that pre-detection is important. That is why it has to be through physical education. And physical education, at the same time, has to be adjusted according to age of enrollment into various sports, sensitive periods, and development of different motor qualities, and of course natural growth and development. That is why I'm saying, please study stages of motor skill, mastership, mastery in India for Indian children that will contribute practically and theoretically significantly. Study sensitive periods for Indian children because we are selecting Indian children at the beginning and we need to have Indian norms and standards, not international. International norms only come when the kids are becoming international athletes. Then they have to compete with other countries. When we select them, they have to be best of the country. No comparison with international kids. And there is actually a very serious shortage of data on that in India. Eventually, the expected outcomes. If quality PE teaching is produced and kids are getting regular opportunities to practice, then they are automatically blossom in a better way. We are significantly increasing the number of movementally gifted and advanced children at any age because they are exposed to adequate and effective physical education. That makes them more noticeable to coaches who are coming for talent to schools. They're coming to schools. They're coming to physical educationists, not anywhere else. And they will be exposed to talent identification in a best possible way. They'll be movementally gifted, adequate, and easy to notice and to select to actually the top performance sports. However, last to mention, we still have to pay a lot of attention and to efforts how to not to lose those kids when they're coming in front of a dilemma of a career or a family or money, health, friends, and so and so. That way only we can preserve those children and make sure that from gifted in physical education kids, they will be converted into sports athletes internationally. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Professor Alexander. It was a very enlightening talk, and we all are very happy to hear from you. And
thank you.
We have few questions that has come into the chat box. Now the house is open for question and answer. Dear participants, if you have any questions, you can ask. And let me see, few participants, they have raised their hand. So I'm allowing you to talk. Mr. Sabir Ganesh, you can ask your question. If you can hear me, Mr. Sabir, you are unmuted. You can ask your question. Dr. Syed, you can ask your question. You are we can hear you. You can ask your question, Dr. Syed. If you are not able to hear, you can put your question in the chat box or question answer section.
I'm trying to check on my side, but there is nothing much there.
Yes.
कोल्ड ड्रिंक पियोगे?
Okay. I had got a question from one of the participants, and he's asking that India is a huge country, and we have all kind of weather conditions, all geographical setting we have. So in such a country, how to make a suitable curriculum which is suitable for everybody? That is the question for you from one of the participants.
Okay, can you repeat that part? How to make it?
We cannot hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, yes, yes. Go ahead.
All right. See, the issue of how to make it uniformed is actually non-existent.
Okay.
That's what my point was during the presentation. There are two basic ways of organizing the selection. Now, imagine that you are dealing with cricket and you have unlimited flow of children. There'll be thousands, lakhs of kids who would like to join. Now, if that is
Dr. Alexander, please unmute yourself, sir.
I think I was
Yes,
unmuted.
sir, please.
Okay, so which part? Okay, I then come again to the point. There are two ways: limited human resources and unlimited human resources. Okay, cricket, unlimited human resources. It will happen with your involvement or without your involvement, it will still happen. Sports which are not that popular, or in the countries which are having limited human resources, it has to be scientific. Then you need norms, then you need standards, and then the approach should be different. And that can be an answer to your current question. Now, there are two approaches. In countries with unlimited human resources like India or China or Russia, actually selectors or coaches pick a kid for a sport. What does it mean? I'm walking into the classroom, seeing a tall kid and say, okay, you are mine because I'm a basketball trainer coach. Or I'm a rowing coach. I take a kind of tall and a big kid. I'm not interested in short kids, light, and so on and so on. However, and that is known as pick a kid for a sport. In small countries like Malaysia, or in countries or in sports which don't have enough flow of talent, we do differently. We say, pick a sport for a kid. What does it mean? It means a simple thing. If I bring you back to that slide, for instance, with talent, I would say everyone in this group is talented, but I will need to check their talent and then assign them to a different sports depending on what they have. So I will pick a short kid and make him a table tennis player. I'll take a tall kid and make him a basketball player. I will take a slim kid and say he can be good at swimming. So I will not let anyone go. I will not pick 3 kids from one class and say these 3 are mine in rowing. I will assign every sport to every kid, and that is a difference. You can practically follow that if you feel like. So not necessarily a kid for a sport. So then obviously this guy is a sumo wrestler. He cannot be anyone else. Or you pick that shortest one and say, okay, who you can be. And then eventually you can make him a cyclist, or you can make him a rider or a jockey. That could be. So, but it cannot be universal. There is no way. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. It was very well explained. One of the participants, Mr. Sudesh, has asked that physical education and sports, sometimes people are misunderstood and they are not able to make difference in between physical education and sports. Sometimes they indulge both things together. So how do you, they want your opinion, how to segregate these two fields, their importance in a different way?
I know that such thing exists, and I would say, and I've been saying that since day one, like 30 years ago. At some kind of period of growth and development of a kid, they do not require a coach, but they do require a wise physical educationist. Because particularly at the beginning of a sporting career, it has to be a multiplicity of movements. And I was showing you those models from various countries, not coincidentally, but to prove a fact that before becoming specialized in some sports, they have to be generalized. And actually the mixed models tend to be most successful. So you go from generalization to specialization, and there is no discrepancy in that. The only thing coaches should respect physical educationists as people who know much more about basic development and then general development rather than coaches do, because coaches are specialized. No offense, I have both physical education and coaching education with me, and I somehow understand both. So coaches can achieve excellence in a selected, limited area of expertise, which has to be also kind of respected and admitted. But they cannot do it without physical educationists who will pay attention to that particular kid at a lengthy period of the development before that kid will be picked by a coach. That is why I was reiterating that talent development happens much before the kid is identified for a sport. It's a wrong concept. Talent development starts, as I say, in the womb, in the family, in the community, in the school, and then only in sports. So sports or a coach is more or less the fourth or fifth degree relative to that talent. But physical education is the third degree relative. And parents are the first degree, community is the second degree, physical education is 3. Someone's mic is on. That's about it.
Okay. So thank you very much, Professor Alexander. We are getting so many questions. So I am taking the last question. That is, students sometimes they lose interest in PE classes. So how to make it more interesting so that for long duration they can be involved in the physical activity? Any suggestion on this?
Oh, there could be like endless suggestions on that. But again, I guess it depends on the school curriculum. It depends on how professional is the PE teacher. And of course, it depends on the equipment. It depends on the school standards, a lot of things. One I can suggest, and this is quite popular actually around the world, the term known as modified equipment, particularly for the kids. See, you cannot give a football to a 9-year-old kid thinking that that kid will take that ball, take the 90 meters long football field, and hit the 11 meters wide goal and have fun from that. It will never happen. So for that reason, there is an industry, and I believe India can be also benefiting from that, manufacturing adapted or modified equipment for kids, smaller scale, lighter balls. It's a huge industry around the world, millions and millions of money involved. Manufacturers, it is not supposed to be of international quality. It can be done anywhere, but that will help maintaining that motivation. Kid cannot throw into the basketball ring, a smaller kid. Bring a smaller ring, lower one, smaller ball, mini basketball, mini football, mini everything. That will help a lot.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor. And let me summarize your session. So you have talked on so many aspects of PE and sports, and you have collaborated both the things. You talked about how to organize physical education classes, how to assess them, and what are the basic PE outcomes that should be incorporated in the curriculum. Then you have talked about different models that have been followed all over across the world. You talked about Australian PE models, Belgium, Hungary, Italy, Luxembourg, Canada, African countries, Kenya, Nigeria, Ukraine. So many models you have put in, and we are enlightened with that, and we can choose best suitable to our requirement. Then you talked about talent development should not only be confined to sports. That is a very crust. You have made it very clear that in physical education also we need talent identification, because children's are picked up from the school, and school is preparing the base. So in physical education also we need to have the some ingredient of talent identification there. And one more thing that is very much appreciated, and everybody is be happy to know that you said don't pick them young, but pick them at the right age. That is the most important thing that we should take from your today's lecture. So with this, I'm on behalf of organizing committee, the cluster university, on behalf of the vice chancellor and whole organizing team, we with the folded hands, we want to thank you for giving your precious time, being not well today. Thank you very much, Professor Alexander. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, and very much appreciated. And it was my pleasure and honor to present in such a distinguished gathering. And thank you for your good words, and I will keep contributing if required. Thank you so much again.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Over to Mandeep, Dr. Mandeep.
Thank you, Professor Alexander. Thank you, Dr. Birendra Janjaria. We are really obliged to have you, sir. That was really motivational, and that's what we actually require. That's what the need of the all. That's what we really require. Thank you very much, sir. So we move on to second session of the day, and we are really happy, and we can see the main source and the main person behind that. Good morning, ma'am. Good morning. You are welcome. Though we must be having, all having the formal welcome for you, but I was so happy to see you that I want to say that personally. I beg pardon from that, the panelists. We're having Professor Binu madam also here.
And please unmute yourself, ma'am.
Ma'am, can you unmute yourself? I have made you the co-host also. It's not audible, ma'am. Voice is not audible.
Now it is okay.
So you can hear me now?
Yeah, perfectly, ma'am. Perfectly.
Perfect. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, ma'am. Good morning, ma'am. So proceeding further, I request Professor Madhuri from Mumbai University. Good morning, ma'am. Ma'am, kindly unmute yourself.
Good morning, sir. Am I audible?
Clearly audible, ma'am. Please take on, ma'am.
Okay.
Please take over. Please take over. Professor
you, Dr. Mandip.
Dr. Madhuri Sadgir, Assistant Professor from Mumbai University. Please, ma'am, take over, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Mandip. Today, the second session, which is going to deliver by Dr. Hussain, and the co-chairperson of the day is from India. So I'm taking this honor to introduce both the resource persons. Dr. Anek Goel is Assistant Professor and Head of the Department at Deen Dayal Upadhyay College of Delhi. He worked on deputation as a Director Venue Operation, OC CWH in 2010 Delhi. He worked in a different capacity at different organizations. He's a dynamic personality who published many research papers in reputed journals, as well as he's always a keynote speaker. He is a chairperson, he's a resource person at different platform of the sharing the knowledge like conferences, workshop, and clinic. So I would like to request Dr. Anek Goel to please take a charge as a chairperson for the session, sir.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for giving me opportunity to chair the session. I request Dr. Hussain to start her session without delay.
Give me a minute, sir. Let me finish introduction of Dr. Hussain. Ladies and gentlemen, we have very good dynamic personality among us, Dr. Hussain. I'll brief about her bio because it's not possible on this platform at the time to read all about. Ms. Hussain is a director of the USIRD Egypt. She belongs to the Egypt. Her educational background, she completed her MA in the Olympic Studies from Cologne University, Germany. She is a master in organizing management from the France. Madam worked as a director of Olympic Solidarity and the International Relations Department of Egyptian Olympic Committee. Madam achieved achievements as IOC Athlete 360-degree plus outreach workshop educator since 2019. And she is also a managing director of the Egyptian mission taking part at the Youth Olympic Game in 2018. She is a director of IOC certified courses like management and associated courses. Lot to talk about, madam, but because we are running short of time, I would like to request Dr. Hussain to please take over the charge of the session.
Hello.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much for this nice introduction. So let me just share my screen with you.
I'm not able to listen properly. Is there anything wrong?
Can you see my screen now?
I'm not getting the feedback. Hello.
Can you hear me?
Mandeep sir,
Yes, we can hear
something is
and
wrong.
we
Can you continue with the program?
Sorry?
We can hear you. Your screen is visible.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So today I'm going to talk with you about education during the Youth Olympic Games. So the Youth Olympic Games were actually created by the International Olympic Committee on the initiative of former IOC President Jack Rowe. As you can see here. So let me just... Perfect. He proposed this idea of hosting an Olympic Games for the youth in 2007 before the executive board of the IOC, who unanimously approved this decision. And then the IOC session later that year took the decision that the first edition of the Youth Olympic Games would be organized in Singapore. Similar to the Olympic Games, we have both summer and winter Olympic Games. The Summer Youth Olympic Games take place during the year of the Winter Olympic Games, whereas the Winter Youth Olympic Games take place during the year of the Summer Olympic Games. But actually, after the introduction of the Agenda 2020 of the IOC, this will be changed, and the Youth Olympic Games in the future will be hosted during a non-Olympic year, just to ease the pressure on the national Olympic committees who take part in both editions. This was the reason behind this relocation of the Youth Olympic Games. So as for the structure of the Youth Olympic Games, we can see that the athletes who are eligible to take part in the Youth Olympic Games belong to the age bracket between 15 and 18 years of age. And for the Summer Youth Olympic Games, the organization is run throughout 12 days, whereas for the Winter Olympic Games, it takes 10 days to organize the event. So far, we have 6 Youth Olympic Games editions successfully staged, 3 Summer Youth Olympic Games in Singapore, Nanjing, and Buenos Aires, as well as 3 Winter Youth Olympic Games in Innsbruck, Lillehammer, and Lausanne. And actually, it was lucky for us to have the Winter Olympic Games taking place in Lausanne in 2020 in last February, before the outbreak of the COVID-19, which actually changed everything and changed life as we know it. And now we're forced to rethink the future and see how the sport movement will be like after this phase. However, we are in a way optimistic to see that in 2022, there is an Olympic Games for the youth coming to Africa for the first time. And this edition of the Youth Olympic Games will be the first Olympic Games to be hosted in an African countries. And this is actually thanks to the new norm of the IOC, which now makes the process of having host cities a little bit more easier than the former approach. So now with this degree of flexibility and with the IOC, the entity approaching the cities that have the potential to host the games and that can work with such cities on a more flexible and more relaxed terms, this is actually a good chance, and we're really looking forward to the upcoming games in the summer of 2022. So let's talk some rules now. According to the Olympic Charter, which is the official constitution or the rule book guiding the IOC, the first issue addressed by the Charter is establishing and highlighting the fundamental principles and essential values of Olympism, which is defined as a philosophy of life, exalting and combining in a balanced whole the qualities of body, will, and mind, blending sport with culture and education. Olympism seeks to create a way of life based on the joy of effort, the educational value of good example, social responsibility, and respect for the universal fundamental ethical principles. We can say that the goal of Olympism is to place sport at the service of harmonious development of humankind with a view to promoting a peaceful society concerned with the preservation of human dignity. And actually, once we open the Olympic Charter, the first two principles are what I just read. They are dealing with the philosophy behind the Olympic Games. However, to many Olympic scholars and some of the academia, they oftentimes differentiate between the Olympic Games, which is this interesting 2 weeks festival gathering top high performance athletes from around the world representing their countries in high performance athletic competition, and the philosophy of Olympism professed by the founding father of the Olympic Games, Pierre de Coubertin, whose focus of interest is the overall development of the individual personality and the social life. So we can say that between this disparity of the Olympic Games as this gigantic and commercialized event and the philosophy behind the Olympic Games, the vision and the objectives behind the introduction of the Youth Olympic Games at the time they appeared were actually to act like a bridge connecting the Olympic movement to its long-rooted educational foundation. So it was like a tool for the IOC to start attracting young audience to their event, to the Olympic movement, which was beginning during 2007 to be a little bit obsolete and irrelevant to this specific age group. So with this vision to inspire and drive younger generations to participate in sport, learn about Olympism, its values and principles, we can say that the Youth Olympic Games are unique. They have their own DNA, as the IOC keeps announcing to us. So it's not really correct to perceive the Youth Olympic Games as mini Olympics. This actually takes them out of their context and the vision and philosophy behind their introduction. So this brings me to the compete, learn, and share experience. So we can say that the motivation of the Youth Olympic Games is not just the participation of the elite athletes in athletic or sports competition, but also engaging them in a number of learn and share experiences and activities, which was previously known as the Culture and Education Program promoted by the IOC. So with this compete, learn, and share vision, the Youth Olympic Games are mainly intended to shape and influence the athletes and other young participants and prepare them to become ambassadors of Olympism, sport, and a healthy lifestyle, so they can take on an active role in their communities. So just to put it in a simpler way, we can say that contributing to the character building of the youth and the young athletes, giving them a voice, preparing them for life and leadership is actually at the heart of the Youth Olympic Games. So it should be considered as a very tremendous platform that inspires today's youth and help them to prepare for life and help them to be effective members in the communities. Another factor that actually differentiates the Youth Olympic Games from the Olympic Games and from other sports events is the fact that it has this innovative factor. There is always experimenting with the format of the competitions, introducing new sports, introducing new disciplines. Like, for example, during the Buenos Aires Youth Olympic Games in 2018, we could see roller skating and breakdancing as part of the sports program. These are actually fun physical activities and new sports that attract the youth. So it's always smart to bring in these innovative factors to the games, and these innovative factors make the games stand out. Another thing that differentiates the Youth Olympic Games from the Olympic Games is the fact that the official delegation of the NOC has to stay throughout the entire period of the Youth Olympic Games in the Olympic Village. So the athletes, whether they are competing or not, they have to remain in the Youth Olympic Village throughout the entire period of the Games. And this is actually one of the things that gives this vibe and this spirit to the Youth Olympic Games, because at the Youth Olympic Village, people come together, athletes come together, participants come together to share their experiences, to share their cultures, their similarities and differences, and staying there the whole time allows them the time to do this. If I want to speak on a managerial level of the Youth Olympic Games and differentiating it from the Olympic Games, we could say that the degree of services offered for the National Olympic Committees during the Youth Olympic Games is totally different, is on a more smaller scale than that offered for the Olympic Games. For example, we don't really have NOC offices or NOC medical spaces. There's no such thing as special treatment and protocol treatment for the dignitaries or embassies or NOC guests. So on a managerial level, the degree of services offered to the National Olympic Committees is a little bit more relaxed and a little bit less protocol than the Olympic Games. In fact, to put an example before your eyes, during the Buenos Aires Youth Olympic Games, the chef de mission, the head of the mission, didn't even have his own bedroom. He had to share the bedroom with someone else from the team officials. So I'm not gonna speak much about managerial issues. Let's go back to the compete and learn and share experience, which we say is at the heart of the Youth Olympic Games structure, where we can see that the focus is threefold. It's focused on the young athletes, it's focused on the athletes entourage, namely their coaches, their parents, the officials around them, and also it's focusing on the local youth of the host country, offering them a number of sports activities, a number of cultural and educational activities. Having this blend of the sports, the culture, and the education makes the Youth Olympic Games a really special occasion. So, for example, we can see in the heart of the village, in the Youth Olympic Village, the space for the athletes 365 tent, where they offer and organize number of activities mainly for athletes, offering them education related to sports integrity, related to risk of competition manipulation, cheating in sport, also making some awareness campaigns about doping, about sexual harassment, giving them some information about dual career and how to combine between education and sport, giving them some soft skills like time management, information about nutrition, information about media training. And in Buenos Aires, the Summer Youth Olympic Games, there was this tent called the Performance Accelerator, where actually some training and information were delivered to the athletes to help them develop new mechanisms and healthier practices to accelerate and increase their performance. There was also something else called the Game Changer Hub, which gave athlete material and teaching about how to maximize the use of the digital world and the social media to brand themselves and spread the messages about themselves. And we can say that such learning activities are usually done through interactive quizzes, workshops, mobile applications. Also for the Buenos Aires Youth Olympic Games, there was and still is this app called Believe in Sport. It's a mobile app, an interactive mobile app where athletes can learn about sports integrity. Also, as part of the Youth Olympic Games and the Youth Olympic experience, the IOC invites Olympians from the Olympic Games to be part of the Youth Olympic Games, to have workshops delivered to athletes, to spread messages to athletes, to talk with young athletes through something called Chat with a Champ. This gives the chance to these young athletes to learn from the experiences of the older Olympians. On another level, there is also the activities run by the International Olympic Committees, some of the international federations. Some of these international federations organize their own focus day where they give their own athletes and their own coaches belonging to this sport some and more focused education related to the sport. For example, the IBA, the World Boxing Association in Buenos Aires, held a workshop for its boxing and its boxing athletes and its boxing coaches. So we can actually say that the learn and share are integral aspects of the games, and they offer diverse activities to the athletes, to the entourage, and to the local youth. Another program which is really at the heart of the Youth Olympic Games and which is my own personal favorite is the Young Leader, which is previously known as the Young Changemaker, and the Young Reporter programs. These are initiatives specifically launched during the Youth Olympic Games. In principle, the role of a young leader or a young change maker is to focus on helping the athletes from the delegation of its country, from the national team of his or her country, help these athletes to make the most out of their experience in the Youth Olympic Games, out of their participation in the Youth Olympic Games, encourage these athletes to interact with people from other sports and from the local youth, and also help these people take part and actively engage in the activities and workshops which are organized during the whole duration of the games. On the other hand, the Young Reporter program is delivered by the IOC to a number of young journalists aging between 18 and 24 years of age. These young journalists are nominated by their national Olympic committees to receive this training from the IOC with professional trainers and journalists throughout the Youth Olympic Games period, helping these young reporters to gain knowledge and specialize in areas like photography, writing, social media, and broadcasting. So if we're talking about Egypt, we could say that we had a young reporter nominated for the Singapore 2010 Summer Youth Olympic Games, and a young change maker who took part in Nanjing 2014 Summer Youth Olympic Games. And also we had one more athlete proposed to take part in the Buenos Aires 2018 Youth Olympic Games, but he ended up not going. So we could say that in Egypt, we didn't really make good use of participation in such initiatives. And to put my Olympic solidarity background and my Olympic solidarity hat on, one of the main important factors of sending athletes or funding some of the scholarships or opportunities and sending people to take part in such kinds of programs using funds from Olympic Solidarity, or in this case from the IOC, I need to see some return on investment when these people take the training and come back. This is something that we should bear into mind when we nominate or send people to such initiatives and such programs, because at the end of the day, it's not about the knowledge they gain from these programs, but it's about how they use this knowledge and put it into practice. And this actually brings me to the photos you're seeing here. These are three of my most esteemed colleagues and friends. I'm really privileged to be in touch with these guys. Christelle and Tony are from Lebanon, whereas Martem is from Portugal. Christelle was the young reporter in Nanjing 2014 and a young leader or change maker in Buenos Aires. Tony was a young leader in Nanjing 2014, and Martem was a young leader in Buenos Aires 2018. And the reason I'm bringing in these athletes and these role models into focus is the fact that they actually gave the perfect model of how a person can make use of these kinds of initiatives, because they use the knowledge they gain to make a difference in their own lives, but most importantly, to give back to the youth and the youth athletes in their countries. So if I talk in more details about Christelle, she's like our Miss Banzi who presented to us on Sunday. She's also a social entrepreneur. She is actually using sport as a tool to spread awareness and help athletes in her country. She also offers free services to the NOC in Lebanon when it comes to publication and media, among other things. As for Tony here, he is actually a full-time employee at the Lebanese Olympic Committee. He's a dual career expert. He's the main person in the NOC whom athletes resort to when they need any advice, whether related to their sports or related to their careers or education. He's always there. He goes the extra mile for what he truly believes in. He really believes that sport can make a difference and can make a better society. And finally, Martem. Martem is the youngest of the three. And the minute I was introduced to Martem, I really fell in love with his enthusiasm and spirit. Martem, as a kid, was watching the opening ceremony of the Athens 2004 Olympic Games on the TV with his parent, and he instantly fell in love with the games. And he said, my dream is to be there, is to be part of this. But because he didn't really have the capabilities to develop as an elite athlete, he kept trying and he kept on knocking on doors and trying to find every possible opportunity that comes his way. And finally, in Buenos Aires, his dream came true and he became a young change maker. So to be honest, I cannot really tell their own stories on their behalf, but I just wanted to give you a hint, to give you an idea about what people can do and can achieve through such programs. They take part in these programs, but the most important thing is that they should implement what they have been learning. They should try to make a difference. Finally, I'm gonna touch base a little bit about the experience of the Egyptian delegation in the Buenos Aires 2018 Youth Olympic Games. We actually had a delegation consisting of 112 persons. This was one of the biggest delegations in the Youth Olympic Games. It was a personal challenge for me personally because This was the first Olympic Games I'm responsible for. It's my second delegation to be responsible for after the Mediterranean Games delegation. So it was a challenge for me personally as a young person, as a young official, because at the time I was only 32, to be really in charge of this big delegation, to be in charge of all the aspects of the delegation from the first moment of our registration and accreditation of the athletes back at home until we reached to the Youth Olympic Village, and then until we returned back again to our country. This was a challenge for me, and I'm really thankful that the leadership, the chef de mission of the delegation trusted me and gave me this role, which really changed my perspective and helped me gain a lot of knowledge on this managerial sector. Another positive thing about our participation in the Buenos Aires 2018 Youth Olympic Games is the fact that the majority of our athletes, of our young athletes, when they were asked, they said that it was a life-changing experience for them. The moment they arrived to the Youth Olympic Village, they felt that there is a bond between them as young athletes and between us as team officials, because we instantly could identify each and every athlete by name, by face, and by sport. And this is not actually something easy given the bigger population of athletes in Egypt, and also due to the fact that we haven't met these athletes before they travel to Buenos Aires for the games. So it was the first time to meet them, and upon their arrival, feeling that they are recognized, feeling that we know who they are, this gave them this vibe and gave them this willingness to listen to what we are telling them and to really try to make the most of their experiences there. I cannot tell you the friendships that the athletes of Egypt made with each other as a delegation, because also they didn't come, a lot of them didn't come together before the time of the games, but also more importantly with the other athletes from the other delegations and with the other athletes and young persons available in the Youth Olympic Village. And in fact, this policy that the athletes and the official had to stay throughout the entire duration of the games is one of the positive aspects, because it gives them time not only to focus on their competitions, but also to take part in the activities, which I can tell you all the time whenever I pass through the various tents located at the heart of the Youth Olympic Village where the activities were delivered, I could spot Egyptian athletes taking part and participating actively in the events. Many of the athletes were really happy with the exchange of bands with other athletes from different countries. They were happy with the gifts and the goodies that they were receiving from the tents of the various educational and sharing activities at the heart of the village. And this actually was one of the aspects that contributed to them as persons belonging to this young age, this teenage, that really needed to come out and to have a voice and just to learn how to interact, how to express themselves. So this was really one of the positive aspects we've met with during the games in Argentina. One of the negative things, though, that we've witnessed is that some of the athletes have some difficulties with the language. So sometimes the language was a problem for some of the athletes. We try to be there as much as we can, because some of the athletes only spoke Arabic, the native language. So we try to either send with them some of our NOC assistants to help, ask some athletes who are better with English or French to help their colleagues. But this is something that could potentially be looked into for future editions of the games. The fact that there are no permanent office spaces for the National Olympic Committees was one of the good and bad factors of the games and for our delegation. But mainly for me personally, it was really a good aspect because we managed to use technology to connect with the coaches and the team officials. And this gave us a chance as team officials to go around and be engaged with the athletes, to see their training, to see their participation in the competitions, to see their participation in the activities, instead of shocked at the office the entire day. We also encouraged the coaches to encourage their athletes to be proactive and be part of the learn and share and various activities and workshops taking place. And actually, I can say that our athletes managed to make the most out of their experience. One comment though, related to the entourage. It is supposed that the entourage are one of the integral factors that should be taking some activities from the International Olympic Committee. However, on the actual ground, we didn't really see that much activities were developed for coaches or for officials. And this is something paramount because these coaches and these officials are actually there. They are at the Youth Olympic Village all the time. They finished their competitions, so they really have the time to engage in workshops. And this could be a good chance for the international federations or the International Olympic Committee to deliver messages to these coaches about how to deal with these athletes and these particular young athletes, how to help them combine between their athletic performance and between their education and prepare for the life after sports. So it's a good thing to take into consideration to put in more focus for the programs developed for the athletes entourage. So finally, I'm gonna talk about my experience with the volunteers. As I said before, I was handling everything. And as a team official belonging to the NOC, I had two other colleagues from the NOC who were mainly responsible for finance, one for finance and another person for transportation and international flights. Everything else was my responsibility. So it was really helpful to have these NOC assistants. We were assigned 4 people from Argentina, 4 young people from Argentina as our NOC assistants. It was really amazing to engage these young people in the preparations of our team, in the day-to-day business of the delegation, to have them running tasks and errands for us. This made them feel like they belonged to the delegation. They learned from us, we learned from them, and this was something to really be appreciative about, to have this bond between us Egyptians coming from Egypt to all this way to Argentina, which really is not something we do every day, to get in touch with them, give them some part of our culture and gain some part of their own culture. Finally, I need to say that we cannot be hypocritical. We cannot say that medals does not matter. We cannot say that the Youth Olympic Games is only about the learning and the sharing and the education. This would be non-realistic. It's about the medals because countries invest in these athletes. Countries pay for these athletes to train. It's true that the IOC pays for the delegation to be there. It pays for their international flights, for their expenses at the Youth Olympic Village. However, countries and governments pay for these athletes to pursue their training. So at the end of the day, medals matter. But we can say that although the medal factor and the competition factor is important, we cannot really deny that the educational factor and that the experience and culture and engagement of the athletes in the other side projects done throughout the period of the games really means something and contributes to the athletes. So thank you so much for your attention. This is me with my 4 volunteers. And this is actually a note they gave me by the end of the Youth Olympic Games. I'm gonna read it for you because it really made my heart happy when I received it from them. So it goes, it was a pleasure for us to share this experience with you. We don't have enough words to describe how lucky we feel to be part of Team Egypt. These games will remain in our memories forever. We had a lot of fun and we have lots of stories to share with our families and friends. Through all of you, we've learned more about your country, culture, and food, and we hope you've learned the same from Argentina. We found a friend in you and we wish to meet you again soon. So this was like a farewell gift from them by the time we ended the game. It really meant a lot for us to see that we've impacted these are young people involved in the game. So it was really happy for us to see that the benefit was mutual. Our athletes benefited, and also the people we interact with from Argentina made the most of their experience. And I conclude here.
Thank you, Dr. Hussain. It was very...
I'm not really a doctor. I'm just an MA scholar.
Okay.
Just to be honest.
Soon you are going to complete your research. So we are, advanced wishes from our chair.
Hopefully we will get there someday.
No, you'll definitely get it. You have a lot of experiences and you have worked so hard for this.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. As Ms. Hussain has completed her presentation, it's very knowledgeable and her experiences will make us to learn this kind of mega event culture in our country. Ms. Hussain has spoken about education during the Youth Olympic Games. She has shared her experiences. She has highlighted the birth of Olympic Games, future Olympics, Youth Olympic Games, where it's going to happen. It's going to happen in Africa in 2022, Dakar. The place is Dakar. Now, and then she has highlighted the importance of mini Olympics also. She has spoken about Youth Olympic Games, how it's going to the mission of the Olympic Games to compete, learn, and share experiences of youth among themselves, as well as among youth, local youth of that city and country. Then the youth target groups are young elite athletes, entourage, coaches, and parents, how their role is important in preparing the youth of the country. She has highlighted the importance of IOC's different activities which will help to improve the Olympic values among youth. The interactive sessions, quiz, workshops, one-on-one interaction with Olympians, senior Olympians who are participating in Summer Olympics or Winter Olympics. The diversity of the world and its youth to integrate among themselves. The Youth Olympic Games is one of the main important platform for that. She has highlighted the Youth Olympic Games Young Leader Program, in which she has prominently spoken about Youth Olympic Games Young Reporter Program, in which IOC is providing training to youth in writing, photography, social media, etc. She has also highlighted the age group for which they are organizing these kind of program. It is between 18 years to 24 years of age group. She has given the examples of 3 young reporters who have given their real life time for this. She has highlighted Crystal and Tony from Lebanon, Martin from Portugal. She has given the examples of these people who has made the difference in their lives and people among nearby them. And she has given, through this, they have given an idea of change. Then Ms. Sen has spoken about the Youth Olympic Games 2018, which was held in Buenos Aires. Her experiences with the delegation. She spoke about challenges during the stay of the delegation, the delegation, not only the young athletes, it's about volunteers, it's about coaches and parents and officials of different level in organizing of the Olympic Games. Last but not the least, she has spoken about how does the medal matters. Governments are spending lots of their resources in developing athletes and their program in their country. So, as she said, the medal matters. But on the other hand, we have to follow the ethics of the Olympic Games, values of the Olympic Games, and educational programs of the Olympic Games. With that, she has concluded her session. Ms. Hussain, there are few questions. We would like you to answer those questions. Mr. Rakesh Kumar has asked, as there is no specific age limit for taking part in Olympic Games, why there is a need of Youth Olympic Games? And with that, he has also asked one more question. Is someone participating in Summer Olympic Games at the age of 16? Is she eligible to take part in Youth Olympic Games? Ms. Hussain, please.
Well, for the second part of the question, yes, the athlete is eligible to take part. There is no problem here. As for the third part of the question, I think the philosophy and the idea behind the introduction of the Youth Olympic Games is to reorient the Olympic Games and to start touching athletes at a younger age, to infuse this educational factor, which is, as we said, is at the heart of the Youth Olympic Games experience. So yes, some younger athletes can take part in the Olympic Games based on the various eligibility standards and criteria of each and every sport. But to start educating people, to start educating athletes and Olympians when they are still 15 and 18, is a little bit different from just starting to approach a younger Olympian at the Olympic Games. So this was one of the factors that introduced the Youth Olympic Games side by side with the Olympic Games.
Thank you, Mrs. Sen. We haven't received any more questions now. So thank you very much, Mrs. Sen. It's over to Madhuri. Madhuri, please.
Thank you.
Madhuri, your voice is not clear.
Hello, this is, yeah, am I audible?
Yes, sure.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you so much, Dr. Anik. This is a very enlightening and informative and very concise kind of speech given by Dr. Hussain, MS Hussain. Really, it is very important. We should have a frequent interaction on such kind of topics so that we can involve the youth, we can involve the community in this kind of programs. And this is the actually route to strengthen the nation towards the sports and Olympics. So I'm very thankful for giving such an informative session by MS Hussain. And I'm very thankful to Dr. Anik Goel for sharing the session and concluding the session in a very wonderful manner. Thank you so much. And over to the Dr. Mandeep, please.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Madhuri. Thank you very much. Dr. Madhuri, Assistant Professor from Mumbai University, moderator of the session. Thank you, Dr. Professor Anik Goel, sir, Delhi University. Thanks a lot, sir. Thanks a lot, sir. And thanks to the resource person, ma'am. Fairly, we are not convinced by your word that you are not doctor. You are a scholar and you are a doctor. You are really a person whom we always want to learn from. Ma'am, there was a question that one student from Dr. Rubel, she's from Canada, and she has placed a question. Ma'am, she wants your response on the subject Olympism. Subject, can it be introduced, should it be introduced to schools and colleges world over, the subject known as Olympism or Olympic values, or to be the subject, theoretical subject on something that enhances, something that really gives us the value of Olympic.
Okay. In fact, there is something called the OVIP education, OVIP Olympic Values Education Program. It's a program that exists at the IOC level, and many of the countries and the National Olympic Committees try to take this toolkit, the material from this OVIP program, and take it to the schools. Of course, in an ideal world, having Olympism or Olympic education part of the school system, this could add value to the athletes. But again, we could meet some of the cultural differences between what actually are the values that are relevant to one society as opposed to the other. But it's up to the National Olympic Committees, up to the entities working in sport to take this material, which actually is there, the Olympic Values Education Program and the OVIP and the Olympism material, and go with this to the schools if they can have this kind of access.
Thank you, ma'am. So nice, ma'am. Ma'am, we are also getting question from Philippines. Dr. Archana. Dr. Archana has thanked you for your deliberations. Thanks, ma'am. Thanks again. Ma'am, Dr. Archana is mainly asking about, is it really necessary to go for some kind of sports that's really not been attained by some participants, not by the athletes? Actually, she meant to say that forced by the parents. Okay, there are some, it's a question she is asking about. There are some sports level parents who are forcing the students, who are forcing their children to get into the sports. So what your responses on
it won't really work when you force something on a person. They will not commit to it. As a young person, when I was growing up, my parents as every parent, they enrolled me in a sport. It was karate at the time. I didn't love the sport. I didn't love to practice the sport. And I kept on moving from karate to swimming. And then finally, I pursued tennis. And this was the one that I really loved and I had passion for. And it was a sport that I kept practicing for 9 years. So if you force something on a kid and he doesn't like this, eventually it will not work.
Great, ma'am. We are so glad, ma'am. We are so glad. And one more question. That is, this is from Delhi, Atul Sehnawaz. Ma'am, she wants your responses on doping. So, are you comfortable for this, ma'am? This question, or can you take this question?
If I can answer it, I'm gonna take it. No problem.
Ma'am, she wants to know about doping, ma'am. What's the current status of doping? About your responses on doping, ma'am. Doping in doping of elite athletes.
I'm not that professional in this area of doping, but it's one of the topics the IOC and the World Anti-Doping Organization and practically almost some of the international federations are trying to work hard to combat through offering education to athletes and various materials. But sorry, I can't really be as specific as you need me to be because it's not my field.
Right, ma'am. That's so nice of you. Can I request Dr. Shamla? Ma'am, hello, ma'am. Are you hearing me? Can you hear me, ma'am?
Yes, I can, Dr. Mandip.
We are so glad, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Welcome, ma'am. Ma'am, can you take this answer, ma'am? Our question, because this is really something belongs to you. And the person who has asked, he is a national hockey player. So he wants your responses on doping, ma'am.
Okay. Basically, I think doping has grown very big, Dr. Bandip, and I think it's scaled down to every country in having anti-doping agency. Only thing is the formation of the anti-doping agencies in each country is there's a different kind of mechanism. Some are government related, but it's supposed to be independent. So, for example, in Malaysia, we have an agency called ADAMAS, which is the anti-doping agency in Malaysia. And what we do is we practice a policy where we try to test as many athletes before they go for multi-sport events. So, for example, in the 2015 SEA Games, where I was the deputy chef de mission for the Malaysian contingent, we did 100% check on the athletes. Why? Because sometimes we don't know what they take. Usually it's by herbal, there's something can go wrong when they take something by herbs or they buy something online, and those ingredients within those products are not actually stipulated within the boxes that they buy. So generally, I think doping is a very, very serious thing that has got plenty of attention. More importantly, I think how each contingent reacts towards this, and when it's cascaded towards each sport, for example, if it's done by the anti-doping agency of Malaysia, we have the National Sports Institute, the National Sports Council, the Olympic Council, and then we have the National Federation inside. So what we do is the anti-doping agency, they even go down to schools to make them aware that please check before you take the supplements. Of course, if you look at the wide spectrum of anti-doping, towards the right, the extreme end, they will do it because of performance analysis or enhancement. But there are also people who sometimes, in many cases, there have been a few cases of athletes where they've got, unfortunately, they've got their medal removed or taken off from them because they have been taking it for weight loss, like green tea. Sometimes they have a different kind of material in it. So I think that's the current status of doping, and it's got serious attention. It's got very good structure of testing and so on. Only thing is the cost is very high. Testing it depends on which country you send it from, whether you have a lab in that country itself. So, I think this is a big opening for universities as well, and the medical collaboration with the medical field in order to see how they can actually do this anti-doping within each country, Mandip. I hope that answered the question.
Yes, absolutely, Dr. Shamla, you have covered it very well. In fact, that is enlightening also. There is another question for Ms. Hussain. Ineas, what is the procedure to select the rural girls, youth to come under the sports umbrella in college level? This question has been put into Ms. Ineas. Ineas, you need to unmute your mic, please. I think, yeah. Your mic is still mute. Kindly put it on mute. Yeah. We can hear, your mic is unmute, you can talk now. Yeah.
Thank you. So could you please repeat the question?
The question is that, can you just enlighten on that how the rural girls from youth rural girls can come under the sports umbrella in the college level as well?
You mean the
rural girls who are belonging to the rural area, how they can continue or maybe taken up into the sports at the college level as well?
I think this is a tough thing to address, because the problem with this kind of population, people in rural areas, it's not easy to have the facilities and the financial capabilities to enroll in sport. So usually when we try to find athletes belonging to these areas, it's through talent identification programs, either the identification programs run by the Ministry of Sport or the National Olympic Committee or the National Federation, because on their own way, it would be a little bit challenging for them to find a way, to find the means to enroll in sport. So the best thing to address, I'm talking about the reality in Egypt. The best thing to address this is through talent identification programs run by either the government or the national federations or the National Olympic Committee.
Thank you, Naz. Dr. Mandi.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Dr. Inaz. Thank you, Professor Benugupta. I'm really taking the privilege of announcing that our guest of the day, our chief guest of this valedictory function has arrived. Sir, welcome, sir. Without taking much of the time, I invite Professor Twinkle Suri, Dean Students Welfare, Cluster University of Jammu, and also the director of this international seminar to formally welcome the chief guest. Dr. Twinkle Suri, please, ma'am.
Thank you, Mandeep. Am I audible?
I'm visible and clearly audible, ma'am.
Good morning and greetings to the esteemed house, and a very happy International Olympics Day to all of you. On behalf of the whole cluster community, our Dean Academic Affairs, who's a little unwell, our registrar, our deans of faculties, our principals of the constituent colleges of the university, and also on behalf of the sports wing of the Office of Dean Students Welfare, headed by Dr. Vinod Bakshi, who's the seminar director of the event, and Dr. Mandeep Singh, the organizing secretary. I extend a very hearty welcome to Professor Manoj Thar, Honorable Vice Chancellor, University of Jammu, who has recently taken over as Vice Chancellor, Cluster University of Jammu, and is our chief guest to this maiden function of the university that he's attending, which is the valedictory ceremony, sir, of the 3-day webinar that was organized to commemorate two very significant days. The International Yoga Day, which was on the 21st of June, and the International Olympics Day that happens to be today. So we are sure that the university, which started under the founding leadership of Professor Anju Bhasin, would further grow and prosper under your insightful guidance and leadership, and we extend our unyielding support for the same. I also extend a very hearty welcome to all our resource persons from around the world. Professor Alexander, we heard him this morning from the University of Saints, Malaysia. Miss Inas Hussain, she was just with us this morning. Director, OSRD, Egypt. Professor Rakesh Tomar, the renowned scientist from King Fahd University, Saudi Arabia. Dr. Roberto Mesquita from Brazil. Professor Dato Subramaniam, University Putra, Malaysia. Dr. Sanjay Gobadun from Mauritius. Dr. Benu Gupta from Delhi University. Our young Olympian, our dynamic young Olympian, Miss Paniz Yusufai from Sweden. Mr. Ranjit Kalra, our representative in BCI and a faculty from the University of Jammu. I welcome you all. Coming back home, I also extend a very warm welcome to our registrar, Dr. Jatinder Khajuria, Professor Mushtaq Lone, Controller Examination and also Dean of Education, our esteemed principals of constituent colleges who are here with us this morning, Professor Kaushal Samnotra from GGM Science College, Professor Ravinder Tikku from Government College for Gandhinagar, Professor Ranjit Jamwal from SPMR College of Commerce, Professor Rakwal from MEM College, Professor Sangeeta Nagari from Government College of Education. Our hearty welcome to all the deans of faculties, Professor Gitanjali Rana, School of Arts and Humanities, Dr. Sanjay Verma from School of Sciences, Dr. Sindhu Kapoor from the School of Social Sciences, our Associate Dean, Dr. Banpreet Kaur, our teaching fraternity from various colleges, universities, and our participants who've been the intellectual energy of this webinar. So the theme of this 3-day international seminar empowering society through yoga, education, and Olympic values, was actually planned keeping in view the prevalent stress and strife due to COVID-19 pandemic, wherein yoga comes across as a stress buster in improving our emotional and mental stability and also channelizing our energy in a positive direction, thereby helping us to keep fit and also calm. I would just like to give you a brief overview of this 3-day webinar. The first day, which was inaugurated by our founder and former Vice Chancellor, Professor Anju Bhasin, was on the theme Society and Yoga. Dr. Roberto Mesquita was the keynote speaker. He was from Brazil. And Dr. Nishant Singh Deol, Dean, Head of Department Physical Education from University of Patiala, was the guest of honor. We also had Mr. Ranjit Kalra as the guest speaker on the day, including our other speakers. The second day delved on society and education. And today, the morning sessions focused on society and Olympic values, which are going to be followed by the panel discussion, which is going to be chaired by your good self. We had about 627 registrations from all over, from Canada, from Brazil, from Palestine, from Philippines, from Mauritius, Iran, USA, and also India. And I would proudly like to inform you, sir, that we had eminent and impeccable speakers from 10 countries: Brazil, Egypt, Sweden, Malaysia, Saudi Arabia, and Mauritius. With this brief overview of the webinar, I once again welcome you, sir, and I welcome all our esteemed, distinguished guests and participants on the house. We are just going to begin with the panel discussion, and our panelists include Ms. Panis Yusufai, Professor Alexander, Ms. Inas Hussain, Professor Rakesh Tomar, Professor Dato Subramaniam, Dr. Sanjay Gobadun, and Mr. Ranjit Kalra. And the panel discussion is going to be moderated by Dr. Benu Gupta. So with these words, I welcome you all, and I welcome you to this valedictory ceremony of this 3-day webinar. God bless you all. Thank you. Over to you, Mandeep, now.
Thank you, ma'am. That was really great of you. And the force behind you, behind this whole international seminar, is actually Professor Twinkle Suri. Ma'am, thanks a lot. You are the real force behind us. Thanks for the motivation, support. Thanks a lot, ma'am. So we are moving on for the next session, and this is the panel discussion that will be chaired by Honorable Vice Chancellor of Cluster University of Jammu. So the family of Cluster University of Jammu is really will always remain grateful to you. I am for the proceedings. I am for the further announcement of the day programs, the program of the day's program of this function. And I welcome, ma'am. Professor Benu, can you hear me?
Yes, Dr. Mandeep.
Sorry, yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
For the panel discussion, I welcome Professor Benu Gupta, Delhi University. Ma'am, please go ahead, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mandeep. It's in fact a proud privilege and honor to moderate this session, and which is being chaired by our own esteemed Professor Manoj Kumar Dhar, who's the Vice Chancellor, and in fact popularly known in India, not only as a Vice Chancellor, but as a scholar in his field also. Sir, to begin with the panel discussion, I would like you to enlighten your opinion. Sir, please.
Okay, good morning, everybody. And am I audible?
Yeah, sir, you're audible.
Audible, sir, perfectly audible.
So good morning, everybody. It's a matter of great honor and privilege for me to be here this morning. And of course, some of the things which have which the Cluster University has been doing since long. And I have just been asked to take care of the university a few days back. So when I was asked that I'll have to attend this webinar, so my first reaction was that the way it has been planned, it should go according to that, and that is how the organizers have done it. And I'm really happy that all the 3 days, we are in the third day of this webinar, and it has been a lot of discussion and deliberations have taken place. So first and foremost, let me welcome all the distinguished speakers who have been attending this webinar since last 2 days. My sincere gratitude to all of you that you took out time and you were a part of this webinar. And let me say that it's a really wonderful opportunity for me to be a part of this initiative, and being the first which I am attending so far as the cluster university is concerned. So it's of great significance because it is the first activity which I am attending, and after I was given this responsibility. And I also would like to say here that some of the traditions, some of the values, because we are talking more about values today and education. So I think some of the traditions which have already been set in this university by our former Vice Chancellor, Professor Anju Bhasin, many of those things will be carried forward. And of course, till the time I'm here, definitely we'll do that. But I'm sure that in future as well, the people who will be joining this university, they will carry forward many things, many initiatives which have been taken so far. Regarding this, I think maybe I could speak at the end after listening to the experts, just to say here that definitely when we talk of empowering our society, empowering our youth, so the sports play a very important role. And I think that in terms of value education, sports have a very important place. And I'll be discussing a little bit more at the end, just to say that I am equally curious to listen to all the panelists, and I'm sure that there'll be meaningful deliberations, and we'll come out with some concrete recommendations which can be passed on to the concerned quarters. And we could see that how we can make this planet a better place, not only for ourselves, but for our future generations as well. I'm looking forward to the interactions today, and I will be keenly listening to the panelists, and I'm sure that we'll get many new things on our plate today. Thank you so much for inviting me, and let's begin with the panel discussion. I extend a very warm welcome to Professor Binu Gupta as well. Perhaps it's for the first time we are seeing face to face, but I hope that these deliberations will continue in future as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. It was actually a motivational opening remark for the panel discussion. To begin with my responsibility given by the Cluster University, I would say happy International Olympic Day to all of you. And I would extend my Vinamra Shraddhanjali homage to Shama Prasad Mukherjee ji. We all know him because today is the death anniversary of him as well. Friends, this panel discussion, this conference actually has a focus on that how we all can strengthen our youth, especially because youth is the future of our global family. And somehow we have seen that today's need, looking at the pandemic and the COVID-19 things which we are facing, yoga is helping us a lot in maintaining ourselves physically, mentally as well, and socially also. To begin with, I would ask the first question to probably to Dr. Shamala, who's amongst the panel, that generally the youth in this age has a basic kind of jungle goes in their mind, juggling up that what they have learned, what they have studied as a student, and now when they're entering to the world arena, I will say, professional arena. So the first thing comes in how to balance these things. Somewhere they have a problem into that they have been a student, they have been following their teachers, their parents, and now they are entering into the administrative world. So I would like you to enlighten a little bit upon on that part of their life, that how should they proceed to their next step of their career. Dr. Shamla, please.
Thank you very much, Benu. Nice to be part of this panel, and warm welcome to everyone. But that's a very tough question, because there's always a very nice answer to give, which is very theoretical and very nice to hear. And when it's actually reality, it is quite hard. Generally, when on a personal basis, when you look at youth going into a different transition of life from university to the workforce, and I think if you look at the definition of universities now, I think we are transforming ourselves so much that we no longer look just like an academic institution alone. That is to share knowledge and so on. What we do is basically we try to emulate the real world within our four walls of our classroom. Okay, and why we do that is because we have this serious problem where academic excellence is basically a graded excellence. Okay, and you can be very smart, but you put it very nicely. Yeah, when they are in university, they are very guided in many ways. But they're very focused on many things. So when you do an activity, it's basically for you to better yourself, empower yourself, and so on and so forth. But if you look at other reasons of why you take part, some of the kids in the university or they generally take part because they want a place in the hostel. So they want to get some merit marks and they want to stay in, and that is their general consensus when they actually get involved in any curricular activities to enhance this multiple needs of when they go out to the real world. Now, when they go to the real world, what happens is, number one, they have to learn how to work with other people. That's one skill that they have to do. Whereas when you are in the university, although you work in groups and you work with other sense of activities where you have a cohesive kind of correlation with other people, but it's very centric about yourself, about you getting your grades and you doing very well, you being able to memorize and study and logically think. Now, when you go out to the real world, what happens is now you work within parameters that are subject to very, very highly relative term of interpretation of performance. Because now performance doesn't come on a grading scale, which is empirical. Now it becomes like, how does your boss look at you? How do your friends work with you? Where do you originate from? Do you have something to share with? For example, if you are a local graduate and you're a foreign graduate, maybe you have more things to exchange. Maybe you have more friends overseas to contact when you want to do projects and so on. So now what is important is they need to know how to embrace pressure. The thing I notice most is they all, people crack under pressure. And when you go for an interview, generally what they do is they push a whole load of pressure onto you because to see how well will you sustain the pressure and see. So when it comes to youth, I think one of the things that are very important for them to understand is, apart from us being satisfied with ourselves and our performance, it's very important for us to understand what is the general consensus of an interpretation of high performance or good performance. That's the number two. So the third thing is, it's about actually how you carry yourself, making a difference. I always tell people it's very different to make a difference in our own lives. If you look at it, people are grasping to make themselves happy and difficult. It's challenging for us to make ourselves happy. We try to make ourselves healthy. We try to make ourselves look better. Now, when youth go out to the real world, try looking at a bigger picture where you have to make a difference in another person's life. Now, if you look at sports, that's the beauty we have. That's the power we have. We get to make a difference in the people who constitute the sports. And in response, we get to make a difference in the nation itself. So when people look at you and your life story and so on, making a difference in other people's life is very, very important for you to do this. And if they are trained within the university how to make a difference in someone else's life, I think when they go out to the real world, they will be able to, how do you emulate pressure, Binu, in university? When you go out for pressure, Absolutely. You get deadlines, you get called at 12 o'clock in the night, right? And then you have to balance your family, you have to balance your work. Whereas in the university, it's very contained in whatever pressure they may feel. The most amount of pressure, they might have enormous amount of assignments or you know, correlating. So what I think is important for you today is you need to be satisfied with yourself. It's very important for all of us to be happy with our own definition, but it's also very important for you to open your mind and see how well that definition defines itself with others, others in an ecosystem itself. So I think it's important, you know, competency is the first thing. You have to be very good at what you do first before you look. It's exactly like, you know, the pyramid of Maslow's theory. By the time you attain the top, you got to fulfill the bottom. So if your stomach is hungry, it's quite impossible to be very philosophical about life. So competency of whatever you study is of paramount importance for you to be eloquently good at your work. And then you will be able to have the prerogative for you to actually look at other things like sustaining pressure and so on and so forth, Benu.
That's absolutely very well said, Professor Shamla. I will, in continuation with this, because we have just talked about that, yes, it is very important to have a balance, and you need to have this imbibe in you, that you start have a different vision and perspective to look at the people, achievement of others make you happy. I will come to Professor Alex for that, because he has actually worked onto the training section and to the academic section. Professor Alex, my question to you will be that what is your opinion about that, how the player, because generally what happens, being a sports person, being a physical education teacher, it is a kind of a stage between two person, any science student or maybe humanities student or any other student who's into sports look forward to make his or her career into the line of somewhere nearing to their passion towards sports, and they think of coming towards either the coaching segment or any other allied field related to sports. What is your input or guidance to those people, that how they can move and what career options they can take up, the young youth who's coming up? Professor.
All right, thanks, Benu, for the question, and I would like to say hi to Prof. Shamala. We meet again in India virtually. Yeah. Nice to see you all again, and addressing the respectful gathering. See, the decision of actually taking or not taking a sports career is actually supposed to be taken kind of early in life. And that was also part of my talk today, that if you look at the timeline, there'll be sports in which early specialization is inevitable and important, like gymnastics, acrobatics, swimming, and so on and so forth. There are, however, sports which are also available for joining at a reasonably older age, like 13, 14, 15, 16, and so on. And we do have examples in professional sports, particularly in combats and boxing, that athletes are joining almost at 20, and they are still capable of achieving elite performance later, and they get into professionals. However, it is more of a, I would say, social challenge what we are facing, particularly when we talk about challenges in life or choices in life. And then again, and that was also discussed a while ago on one of the conferences about student athletes and about university sports. Again, Dr. Shamala is smiling, and I know why. We were both there at that conference. The issue is that it has to be a university culture, and that culture has to be developed, and it is not cheap, and logistics is pretty much complicated. On the other hand, it helps attracting athletes to become students. And there was a very interesting study in the UK done that the huge percentage of Olympians from UK were actually students while participating in the Olympics. And the whole kind of complex of views is there that yes, okay, it's not late to join, but then if it is about top performance or not top performance, is it like more for health, more like for socializing and so on and so forth. On the other hand, as I keep saying, you can have a student physically active, you can have student athletes, you can have athlete students, and a wide variety of various entities of actually people involved in sports being students. On the other hand, when I was saying about social issues, see, we quite often blame coaches for accelerating excellence, or, you know, kind of overshooting or early specialization, which is also not always fair, because that is a very social issue and serious one. We may need to then blame parents who are looking at sports achievements as a way to the higher education. We can also then blame anyone else and say, okay, but then again, that blame is contradictory. If a kid is early mature and he is best than the rest of the world at the age of 14, why should we stop him or her from winning Youth Olympics? And picking then, because when this kid is at the age of 18, everyone else picks up and he is becoming equal to everyone and stands no chance of winning. Then what? And kind of, you know, it's a tricky thing, but we have to look at each and every case individually and support each and every case individually if that is to be supported. However, of course, preventing from dope, from performance enhancement drugs, and from others. So the issue of fair play and the issue of Olympism and Youth Olympics coming into picture, I hope I at least addressed the question. If, I mean, it's not possible perhaps to answer it.
Yeah, but at least you have highlighted very well about these things. In fact, this is something where a youth generally get diverted towards. There are so many dreams, so many things to be taken care of. They look forward to do so many things altogether. So I would ask Dr. Rakesh about that, because he's from Indian origin and he has seen the things what happened, and he has grown up in India. He has seen all those things, and now working with the other country. You can actually highlight upon that the training which you had over here, and now our Indian youth who's present over here listening to you, what will you emphasize or guide them that how they can manage to face the world arena, making balance between their training and their dispersing their responsibility, and how these Olympic values, yoga and education can empower them to execute the best what they can do to the society. Dr. Rakesh, please. Dr. Rakesh, you need to unmute your mic, please. Your mic is still not muted. Dr. Mandeep, kindly unmute the mic of Dr. Rakesh Tomar.
Yes, ma'am. Sir, Dr. Rakesh, I am making you the co-host also.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much, and good afternoon to everyone. And thank you, Dr. Benu Gupta, for moderating this session, and Professor, Manoj, the Vice Chancellor of Cluster University of Jammu. And we are actually very fortunate, that the Vice Chancellor is present here in this discussion, and it's an International Olympic Day, and having a presence of Vice Chancellor of University in this discussion itself, signifies the importance, is giving to the sports at this particular day. So we are very fortunate, and I think, there will be a lot of takeaways, from this. And as very rightly said by you, Dr. Benu Gupta, even as an athlete, I have seen that
there is a sound disturbance. Dr. Mandeep, kindly mute that.
Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Rakesh, you need to unmute yourself again.
Yeah. Okay. So as an athlete, I have also seen, in my when I started my career, and that's what I always feel, as an athlete, and this is also what IOC also, is looking forward to it. And I have access to certain documents, where they are emphasizing, on striking a right balance, between education and the sports. It's very important. So when an athlete, enters into, a competitive arena, he start, training. So it's not, there are very few things, like certain things, sometimes because of the training, because of the pressure, because of, the demand of the competitions, the glamour which is involved, basically in the sports, the athletes, they get too much involved, and they are not concentrating, on their education, at that level. So it's very important that we have to give importance of education to all these athletes who are aspiring to be a, maybe Olympic champion, in future. So we have to install the importance of education, at very early age. And we have to equip all these athletes, all these sports persons who are involved, with necessary and required skills, so that, they can choose the right, and appropriate career at later stage. All the athletes, of course, those who are elite, who perform well at certain level and who play at elite level for a certain period of time. So they may not face problem, later on, but everybody will not reach up to that level. As Dr. Shamla has said that, everybody will not go up to Q1 level, right? To publish in Q1. Q1 is Olympics, right? So somebody will, fall short up to Q2 levels, somebody Q3 levels. So those who are at Q4 levels, at the bottom, they need to develop those skills, so that, they can sustain their career, and it's very important, from them to choose the right education institute. Again, very important. In which institute, they are getting admission. Is that institute, that university supporting them, in choosing their career also, and how they're managing their sports and education. The main problem with the athlete is, how to overcome procrastination. Because in the athlete, basically, it's, it's a tendency of delaying the things, postponing the things, okay, I have an exam, okay, no problem, I will, they keep on delaying that. So that tendency has to be worked out, with athletes, and we have to teach them, those things. How to make most of their study time. Because, these athletes, they are really short of time. They are really short of time. So a responsibility of education institution and the coaches and even the federations involved is to see that are they doing enough in the education also not. It's not that they want them to win the medals for their teams. It's not only, they have to be also responsible and make sure that these athletes who are giving their full time to these federations, to the teams, to the nation, they are also taken care by them. So their education must be taken care, So they, they should be taught how to manage the times, how you can make most of your study time. Like for example, there's a lot of traveling involved when you are in team, travel from one place to another for competition. So how can you use this traveling time for the study? It's very important. It's not that you are just traveling, it's traveling. So now you are not doing anything. So you can focus on your studies, at that time you can use the time, utilize the time, because these athletes are really short of time, and we all know that, how much pressure is there, on these athletes. So it's very, very important, for us to install these, skills, in these athletes. And basically, these are like 4 skills for athletes, which every athlete should understand, and they should, for their, proper career. The first is time management. Time management is very, very important. Then, as I said, second is overcoming procrastination, like delaying the things. That's very important. Then active study skills. They may not be able to devote that much time in the study as a normal, graduate, student will do. So how, they can, they have to develop the active study skills so that, they can, manage with those busy schedules, and learning while traveling. That is very, very important for all the athletes, because traveling, takes a significant time of athletes' life, basically, if you see. So they are traveling every other day. If there are competitions, many times, every day, they might have to travel to the competitions. So learning by traveling is very, very important. And another important thing is, even if you are a good athlete, you are very promising, and you know that you will get your career will not be, hampered, by this, but still the injury is something which is not under control for any athlete. If you are injured in the middle of your career, and sometimes some injuries are such that, the career has to be, like you cannot continue forward. So we have to, that's why it's very important. All the athletes, all the sportsmen has to strike a right balance, in their career. And that's what, as an athlete, I also, when I was an athlete, so I make sure that I do certain things. I develop those skills. I give enough time to my education, so that if I don't succeed at certain level in the competitions, I have still a better option and good option to carry on with my life. So, and I think universities has to play an important role in this. And as I said yesterday, in my yesterday lecture also, and I'm very fortunate that Professor, Manoj Thar, VC is here, that we have to make universities a hub. We have to develop the sports culture in our universities. And once we develop this sports culture, I think all these problems can also be addressed, in the right way. So I think with this,
absolutely right. You have covered so
and,
well. Yeah,
thank you so
Dr.
much.
Rakesh, very well said. Actually, this is what we need to understand, that the player or the budding talent who's coming from school, actually the college, entering to the college is that age where they need the maximum support. And if the university system, college system is there to support them, they will actually be able to pursue their excellence. But the one most important thing which we talk about is that, yes, how to actually manage these timings. Well said that while traveling, while doing your training camps also, I still remember during my India camp, it was something that I was attending my India camp of hockey and coming back and giving my exam and going back to practice in the evening. That is something we really do, but how we are able to do, that is something which provides us our, I will say, the Indian origin yoga, that yam, niyam, asan, pranayam, pratyahar, dharana and dhyan. Up to dhyan, an athlete really works. And that makes them more focused. In a less time, they are able to give a better output because of they are too focused on what they have to do. They do not work on the procrastination. They really look forward that only this much time is best out of it. Like the boy or a girl who's making decision in fraction of seconds, they are good enough to take decision for others also. But the only thing is, as a teachers, as a parent, as a coach, or as a supporters, we have to provide them that atmosphere that they can flourish. I'll come to Ines for that question actually, because she is a young person who is an athlete and had been taking up the responsibilities of other athlete of her age and younger to her. I mean, when you are not even came out of that, you are now not only an athlete, now you're an administrator. You are providing facilities to them who were actually, as you were looking forward for, and suddenly you have been given the responsibility that now you have to give the support to other athletes. So what is your suggestion to our young participants, that what will be the three key tips you would like to convey them, that this can be the strength to you if you follow that? Ines, you kindly unmute your mic, please. Dr. Mandeep, can you please unmute her mic? Yeah, it is done. Thank you.
Yeah, because it tells me that you need to unmute me.
Okay.
Okay, so you need just 3 key points for the young participants to pursue. The first thing, for us as human beings, we really need to understand ourselves and understand our potential. So know what your passions are, know what you feel good about doing, and in this way, you will end up doing it in a good way. So understand yourself. This is the first thing. The second thing we need to say is that all the success that comes to us, it doesn't come easy. So trial and error and failure. Failing doesn't mean that you're not doing good. Actually, failing means that you're on the right track. So learn from your mistake and learn from your failure. The third thing is that we need to work with young people and we need to give them voice. We need to empower young people. And this message actually goes to the higher ranking people at the university, at the NOCs, people who take the decisions and make the decisions. It's really nice to put young people in responsibility, and it's really nice to give them a certain degree of freedom to experiment and do things their own way. So this is basically my advice.
Well said. Actually, the key things you have given to our young people. And if we are able to respect our own self, then only we will be able to respect others as well. That is the key term. And I'll be coming to actually with the vast experience of Professor Manoj, that being a scientific background and being a scientist, what is your opinion about evolving and adopting yoga in the life in a scientific way? How it can contribute to us? I would request Professor Dhar to just enlighten on this. Professor Dhar.
Okay, so am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Let me first of all say that it's a pleasure to be here, and we have in this audience besides the distinguished panelists who are from different parts of the world, and I have already extended a very warm welcome to all of you. Once again, I welcome you all, and we have the principals of the constituent colleges of the Cluster University of Jammu. We have the deans of the faculties. We have Dean Students Welfare, who is the organizer of this event, and then many faculty members who have joined, many students who have joined. I wish to, first of all, wish you all a very happy International Yoga Day. Yesterday, day before yesterday, we have been uh, celebrating that, and today is the International Olympics Day. So I wish you all the best, and my compliments to all of you. See, I was, although I joined this discussion today only, but I was actually trying to understand that what exactly we would be discussing today. And as I see that all the distinguished panelists have spoken about some of the valuable things, especially Professor Alexander, he has talked about what used to be a term in science only. We used to refer in scientific arena, we say catch them young. So I think that very aptly fits so far as the sports arena is also concerned. You also raised a very important point that if somebody is has the caliber, has the potential, and has proven potential, so why not, even if it's of the age is a barrier, so maybe we should look into that aspect as well. Why not catch them young, because that's perhaps very important so far as value education is concerned. And I think Dr. Rakesh, uh, he talked about the importance of education to all the sports persons. And he also talked a very important point, which was highlighted by him, was that we need to develop sports culture in the universities and colleges. I think it's a very important point, and we as the educationists and we as the administrators of the universities and colleges need to understand it very, very carefully. And the last speaker, Dr. Inas, talked about three things which he gave, very important ones, that you have to understand yourself. Success does not come very easy. The failures would be there, but you have to learn from your mistakes. And we have to empower young people. Again, this was a message for the administrators, the heads of the institutions, that we need to empower young people. So I think I have noted down these points, which were kind of take-home messages for me, being the head of the institution, and I'll take care of it. And what I thought that we should be talking about, because as the topic goes, empowering society through education, yoga, and Olympic values. So when we look to the Olympic values, I think I find three things there. One is the sustainability, another is the credibility, and third is the youth. So these perhaps are the three pillars. And when we talk of sports, so why is it important? I don't think for an audience like this and the experts who are here, I need to stress, but since there are a large number of students who are attending this webinar, so I thought I must highlight that sports give us self-confidence, and it teaches us we have to respect ourselves, and then we have to respect others. It was also highlighted by one of the speakers. And in my opinion, the sports basically, it's a kind of a universal language. It's understood by everybody. Everyone in this world understands this language. There is no need of getting special training so far as the understanding of a language is concerned here. And it gives a very key message on, especially on healthy lifestyle, social inclusion, gender balance, and rebuilding of local communities. I think these messages are very loudly and clearly communicated by sports. And one of the important points here is the most important point, that we are actually engaging the youth. That's important, because when we talk of sports, we are engaging the youth. And as I said earlier, that if we catch them young, then that is the age which is considered to be the impressionable age, where you can actually start inculcating those values and start shaping their mind in such a way that they not only become professionals in future, but also they become better human beings. Perhaps what is more important is that we need good human beings. And if you have the good human beings, I think everything else is taken care of. Now, I also feel that this is an occasion where we need to seriously think about the sensitivity about our environment and sensitivity about our planet, because through youth, we definitely need to give this message. And when I say, when you talk of the education, in my opinion, education is not actually something which is only transacted in a classroom, in a face-to-face manner, or in an online class or something. But it's not just, education is not that we have a defined syllabus and we'll talk about those things in a class, or we will take online classes. In my opinion, education also means that something outside, interacting with people, learning from nature. So I think education is different. Education, if you put it in brackets, then perhaps it would mean just the classroom teaching, which many people feel. But in my opinion, education would mean something beyond that. Now, we have seen in this year only, in the year 2020, we have seen a lot of disturbances so far as the climate is concerned. And the present webinar should be an example to say that we are not meeting physically. We are today meeting virtually. And why we are meeting virtually? Why this kind of webinar could not have been, or a seminar of this kind could not have been conducted physically? I think all of you know that we are all in a situation where we are hostage in a way to the coronavirus. We are all scared, and we are locked down under certain conditions or whatever. We are all actually under this severe threat of the virus pandemic, COVID-19. Now, this year, if you have seen, you must have read the newspapers, and all of you are aware that we started with problems of forest fires. Then we had coronavirus, COVID-19, which is still continuing. We had cyclones, worst cyclones in our eastern part of the country, at least in India. And we had the problem of locusts, a severe problem of locusts. Our crops got destroyed. And these all things, they are reminders, they are stark reminders that we need to behave. We need to change our way of life. We need to respect the nature. We need to respect the environment. So I think it's our responsibility as citizens of today that we have to take care of all these things, and we have to make sure that our posterity, our future generations get clean air, they get potable water, they get natural resources. We cannot finish everything and then leave nothing for them. So I think we have to be really very sensitive, and this kind in this era of digitalization, when we are moving more and more on digital formats, and our children are also getting everything through the digital means. So I think our education, especially teaching, learning, has to be more meaningful. And when I say more meaningful, we have to create an environment, a learning environment, which is not stressful, where the students would actually enjoy learning. And how can it be? We have to focus more on the off-class learning, that by doing rather than by just rote things, that somebody comes and delivers a lecture. But I think we have to appreciate and we have to focus more on learning by doing. And by that way, what will happen is that we will be able to impart the education in a real sense. And when we say that we have to have value-based education, let me tell you that all of you must be aware of it and you must have experienced. Values cannot be inculcated just by making the students to sit in a class and I deliver a lecture on values. That is not the way the values can be inculcated in a young student. They cannot be done like that unless the student or the child interacts with other people. He learns from the traditions, he learns from the culture, he learns from the other practices which are being followed. I think it's not just by classroom teaching that you'll be able to inculcate values. So therefore we have to think in terms of this, how to inculcate these value-based education. And I think the most important is that we have a big responsibility of shaping the young minds, especially in our universities and colleges. We have a very big responsibility as teachers, even in schools, I would say definitely, because it is these places where we can shape the minds of the students, and we can do it more effectively if we include physical activity, yoga, sports, innovative activities, skill-based courses in our curricula. So this is, in my opinion, it will lead to not only empowering of our society, empowering of what is today's topic as well, that we want empowering of society. So I think the first and foremost, if we practice all this, we will be empowering our youth, and by doing so, we will definitely be empowering our society, and perhaps we will make this planet a better place to live. So in my opinion, this is what I would like to say on this very momentous day and momentous occasion. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. In fact, this is something you have given the entire gist of the motivation to us, that how it has to be. But one thing you will be happy to know, that the point which you covered, that learning by doing, this Olympic value education program by International Olympic Committee actually focuses on that only. The program which is run, it is purely activity based, and it has different level of activities for different age groups as well. Like for the kindergarten people, the inculcating Olympic values to them, that is respect, excellence, friendship, joy of effort, pursue for excellence, all these things, balance between body, will and mind. These things are through the activities, and we are fortunate being Indian that it is being taken up in our traditional way, that the first home is family and first teacher is our parent who gives us all these things. So one thing, we could be, because of your entire classic experience and example to the country, and now I will say the worldwide, since you have taken up as an administrator to Jammu University and Cluster University, your execution and the results came out in the university system has really tremendous and commendable, not only to the university, but to the society of Jammu and Kashmir. Sir, I would like to ask you to enlighten upon that, you being an administrative face, there are two faces. One is the humane faces and the other is rules and regulation faces. And you are actually a live example to balance between these two things. We would like to really enlighten and highlight upon that how do you do that balance between the humane face and the rules and regulation, because sometimes these overlaps actually. So please.
Yeah, I think it's a difficult question to answer, but definitely I would say that of course there are rules and regulations, and one has to work in the ambit of rules and regulations, and especially when you are at a top position, then definitely you have to tread the path very, very carefully, because sometimes here and there you can say cross a line. But in my opinion, I think it's more important, first of all, to understand a problem, because what I feel is that rules and regulations are definitely there and one should follow. But sometimes if there's a situation, if you talk in terms, as you said, it's a humane angle also, sometimes you have to see. But what I have observed is that if there is a um, if you understand a situation, because sometimes it could be really a very different kind of situation, you may not have thought of it, and suddenly something comes up and you try to find out there is nothing in rules. But in my opinion, it more depends, in those situations it depends on your own reason and logic, because sometimes you have to reason it out that okay, if this is a situation, I don't have a rule here, or a rule is harsh, then definitely one thinks in terms of that. Nobody is very rigid in, you can't be rigid, because if you are rigid, then there is perhaps no need of an intellectual at the vice chancellor's position. Then anybody who is given a task, any robot can do it, because you tell him that these are the rules and you have to function like this. So I think the very fact that a human being is heading, so that gives that kind of a leverage to the person, that you really can understand, and if there's a need, sometimes you can put your viewpoint in such a way that it can be helpful to the person concerned. So definitely a balance has to be kept at that point, and I don't think it's very difficult.
That's really, I mean, a kind of guidance to all of us. In fact, sir, the being a sports person, being physical educationist and educationist, we deal with the youth with us. We all know that after the removal of 370 and 35A implementation, the youth of Jammu and Kashmir is actually an example, for a kind of study example for all of us. They are being diverted to the positive way of life. What is your opinion or your vision regarding bringing these alienated youth towards the mainstream? How we can bring these youth to the mainstream?
Yeah, I think definitely we need to engage them more and more. And when we talk of engaging, you need to create that kind of atmosphere, that kind of situation where um, they would feel included, because it's important that when we talk of such youth, we have to talk in terms of inclusivity, and we have to talk of accessibility, because there are many places, even in Jammu and Kashmir, there are many places where even the basic education may not have reached in that sense. Similarly, I think that is important, that we need to have equity, inclusivity, as well as gender sensitivity, and also I would say aspirational places where we have these aspirational districts which have government of India has made. So all those, and if you are able to focus on sports, because sports as I said, it's the great connecting thing. It's something which will bring in the youth. It will get connected to everybody. And we in the university, in the last 1 year or so, we have been focusing a lot on organizing these sports activities, and we host a lot of inter-university, inter-colleges programs or tournaments, wherein we bring in the youth. And then we have also created some academies here, 4 5 of them, where we have even the small children. We are bringing them here, because it's not only that we are focusing on the university students. As I said earlier, it's like catch them young. So if we start from the very young students and start mentoring them and start giving them that kind of inclusivity and that kind of participation feel, so I think that is what will gradually change the mindset. And when we talk of the education as a whole is very important. We need to create those kind of facilities where we can reach out to the students even in the distant areas of Jammu and Kashmir. You know that as a policy, Jammu University, we have 7 off-site campuses, and those campuses are located in far-flung areas, and they are functional off-site campuses, wherein the courses are conducted in those campuses only. And the student doesn't have to travel from all those places. 250 kilometers from Jammu, we have a campus. The student doesn't have to travel all the way and come to Jammu University for a post-graduation course or things like that. So these all efforts will definitely yield results, and they are yielding results. So this is how we have to go about.
It's really great. You have really given a wonderful example that yes, sports and education can really work as channelizing the youth into the right direction. That's really commendable. And we are happy to know that you are already working in that way. That's why I asked you to actually share your experience for that and your vision. We look forward that we are able to do the similar kind of thing in our entire global family. I would ask Dr. Alex to highlight on this particular because he has actually worked a lot with our Indian community also onto sports and developing these kind of programs. So what, Professor Alex, the things which highlighted by Professor Dhar, I would like you to give up a little bit a light on that, that which kind of things can be taken up and how we can help sports or Olympic values or yoga as a tool to create this kind of channelizing of energy of the youth into the right direction. Professor Alex.
Thank you, Prof. Beno, for the question. It's a good one and complicated at the same time. I would say that there are actually a good number of efforts attempted by ex-athletes, for instance, in India. And we all know the cases when athletes like P.T. Usha or Dhanraj Pillai or Abhinav Bindra, for that instance, or other Olympians are actually opening their own sports academies. That is something which has to be supported by every possible way, and that is how that can be taken as a contribution from them. Another thing, of course, see, quite popular term these days in the world and in India, by the way, too, and in Malaysia as well. It sounds like pay back to the game. See, we were all brought up one way or another, being in touch with sports or physical education. Some of us are ex-athletes, some of us are who have been involved in recreational sports or whatever. So you have an army of enthusiasts who can actually contribute to that. I've mentioned just one, like Sports Heroes running their own academies. There could be more. And we were in fact discussing one of the issues long ago with Prof. Gulshan Khanna, that, for instance, if we keep talking in terms of pay back to the game, see, India really experiences a serious shortage of sports scientists. I know that on the personal experience, being involved with SAI, with national teams, and I have to admit that at some point, actually, and one of the reasons actually I kind of, in a good way, landed in Malaysia was that after 2002 Asian Games, most of Indian sports scientists actually either resigned or just, you know, changed their type of employment or activity for a simple reason: there was no perspective for them to develop further. And that is a problem. And we were discussing with Prof. Gulshan a while ago that, look, you have to develop your own cadre of sports scientists. Again, having an opportunity of having Prof. Shamala here, she will confirm that in Malaysia, there are about 40+ programs in various universities actually catering for sports science, exercise science, sports science. And as far as I know, there is not a single university which seriously does that job in India. And I'm afraid even Sai Patiala, being a, you know, premier university or you know, institute to do that, they kind of said, no, we are not interested. How is that possible? So what my point is, and I'm coming to that, look, there are ex-athletes well-educated. There are ex-athletes either working as coaches or physical educationists why don't we start thinking of how to utilize these people and convert them into sports scientists? Why not? And see, I know that, of course, it may not be that easy or not that simple to convert in India, because, again, if we say we take UK, the priority there is higher education for ex-athletes. You take Malaysia, priority for them is also higher education. You take India, priority for ex-athlete is to get a job. I know that. We all know that. But why don't we start changing that? That the job, of course, is important. But education, full support from the government, full support from the universities, so that these people can get back to the game as specialists. And that could be young people. There could be like groomed from the beginning, from the point they are actually reaching national level or junior national level. Because I have to tell you, and that is not a secret, that, see, I'm now consulting one of the sports academies in Gujarat. And yeah, ELMS is an organization which is sponsoring that. See, we are pushing those kids into junior national level, international level, and then you know what happens. Bang, job opportunity. And we cannot stop them from taking that. They're taking the job. And they have to, by the moment they're taking the job, they are gone for sports, they are gone for top performance, and most probably they will be gone for paying back to the game one way or another. Because they will still compete. They will compete for banks, for insurance, for army. They will still be there, but they will not contribute back to sports society, to physical education society, and so on and so forth. So I would say to try to stay on the positive note, that that part has to be observed, and everyone who can contribute one way or another, from the kids who have been selected by the government, by state academies, by any other way, keep them close. Don't let them leave. And they do what they love to do. And we never really think that they may well still love doing it for employment or for education or for sheltering them into employment and then bringing them back. I view it that way. Thank you.
Absolutely. You have actually highlighted and said that, and we are fortunate that today with us, we can say that Professor Dhar is amongst us, who's leading this platform, will be the key and you can say the instrument to take up this cause in a better way. That yes, we should have some kind of balance and coordination amongst the people into working into the scientific way, bringing that to the actual performance excellence. We can coordinate these two things together by developing some departments, by developing some labs and kind of actual practical ways to do that. Before I move further to take up the questions from the participants, I can see number of hands are raised for that. I would just reply on two questions which has been asked directly, that how they can participate in any of the solidarity course. Every country conduct a different solidarity course of International Olympic Committee through National Olympic Committee, that is Indian Olympic Association in our country, and there is National Olympic Academy who conduct these courses. So if we want to do any of these courses, we have to connect with them. The second question is about the Olympic Value Education Program, which has been put in it up. Related to Olympic Value Education Program, there is, you can connect us on OVAP India Facebook page. You can in fact connect to all other speakers as well through that Facebook page also for further connectivity. So now I will ask Rahul Asthana, who has raised hands to ask the question. Rahul Asthana, take up your, you unmute yourself and ask your question, what you have. Rahul Asthana, you need to unmute. Meanwhile, I'll take a question which is in the question box that is to Inas, Miss Inas. You mentioned about that sports and physical education, two different things, but we feel that it is correlated to each other. kindly enlighten us on this combination of physical education and sports to each other.
Well, I think they are both the same thing. But when we talk about physical education, it's actually putting the sport with this coat of education and some of the values that coincide with it, which is probably coming from the schools or the universities. But for me, it's one and the same thing.
Yeah, actually, you're right, Inas. This is something we need to understand, that physical education and sports is actually interrelated, definitely. Sports is the outcome of, you can say, all kind of excellence which we pursue in physical education, and participation is the motivation which comes through physical education. But yes, all of us being together, we really would like to communicate to the society. We would like to empower our society and youth by using sports, yoga, physical education, Olympic values, and education, most important, to be the instrument to make a better world to live on. Let us have a better Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, a global family, a better family for all of us. I over to thanks to all the panelists, Professor Dhar, Professor Shamla, Professor Alex, Dr. Rakesh, Dr. Inas, to be here for this enlightening session and interactive session with all of us. Thank you so much. Over to Dr. Mandeep for the further proceeding. Dr. Mandeep, please.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, the moderator, Dr. Professor Binu Gupta from Delhi University. That's what, ma'am, that's why you are known for, actually, and you are really a marvel. Thank you very much. Thanks, ma'am. That was really well moderated, ma'am. We are really grateful to our chairperson of the panel, Honorable Vice Chancellor. Sir, we were getting number of responses in a number of emails, and we can say that that's a kind of feedback that we were getting. But we decided to go impromptu, actually, to see actually what the participants had actually really want to say to us. So, with your permission, sir, we just want to go to any of the participants who want to come live and who want to give responses with kind of feedback or any kind of submission, so that this family from Cluster University of Jammu, if anything, will keep on doing in future also, and that we can do it very well. So can we have from the, can we get any participant? Can please raise your hands if they want to say. We having. Yeah, please. I'm starting the video also, taking you in the panel also. And who is it? Hello?
Dr. Mandeep, I think you should see the hands raised over there, and you can call upon by name so that you can just connect them.
Right. Ravneet Kaur, hello. Ravneet. Kindly unmute yourself. Kindly unmute yourself. Shall we go to some other? Is Asthara Muhammad also? Dr. Manjuri Madhuri Sadgir. Hello, Ravneet, can you speak? Hello, can you hear me? We'll try to get to our participants also. By the time, can we have feedback from Professor Tomar, Rakesh Tomar, sir, from Saudi Arabia? Can you have your feedback, sir? Sir, please unmute yourself. I made you the co-host also.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Mandeep Singh ji, for giving me this opportunity to share my feedback for proceedings of this seminar for last 3 days. I've been there for last, on the first day also, the second day, and today also I'm here. And I can see that, this seminar is going very well, and there's a lot of, positive things which have, come from this seminar. First of all, I would like to, convey what I feel that, especially, when I can see that, the Vice Chancellor, of the university, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Manoj Kumar Dar, he is here to chair this session, for this panel discussion. So I am really very delighted that, that Honorable Vice Chancellor of Cluster University has chaired this discussion, which itself is a very significant in terms of promoting sports and Olympic values in universities. And I think, as I said before, when we talk about the, the sports cultures, so the administration, the people who are heading, they are very, very important and play a key role. And sir, I'm sure that with your presence, in the deliberations, will definitely, motivate everyone and will take this issue, to a logical conclusion. So I convey my sincere gratitude and appreciation for being here with us, and you have, given a valuable support, for this seminar, and especially you are here on a day which is actually a International Olympic Day, which again, very important. This seminar was indeed an opportunity for all of us to contribute and how we can empower the society through sports, through yoga, and through Olympism. So actually, Olympism is what? Olympic values, basically the Olympics, it actually values the education. The Olympic values your community. And that's why Olympics are so important. So it's not the 10,000 athletes and staff, coming together at one place. It's basically the entire community is engaged through values. The whole nation, the entire world is engaged. So that's the beauty of the Olympic. And that's what we learned, through various deliberation, in this, seminar. And we had a very fruitful interaction with eminent speakers from different parts of the world who shared their knowledge and viewpoint, and for the benefit of the participants. And this was only possible with, I can say that, the way the seminar is organized, with the meticulous planning and timely execution by the organizing committee, which is very important, which I feel, that things are planned so well. Generally in the online webinars, there are so many issues of connectivity, so many issues of, disturbances, with the participant side and other things, but you have managed it so well, everything. So it appears to me that this seminar was organized with near to perfection, because perfection is, difficult to reach. There is always a scope, okay? And you left no scope, for errors basically. So all the sessions were conducted smoothly and the participants were handled, in a very, proper way. And this was an important aspect, as I said, in all the online webinars, how you handle the participants, how you handle the questions, how you minimize the disturbances, and, fulfill the desire of the participants. So I think the great job has been done by the organizing team, and especially Dr. Benu Gupta ma'am, who is the force behind, for the many sessions, Dr. Birendra Jhajaria, who is, also working, behind the successful conduct of. So we have seen that how you are, contacting with the people and you make this event a successful one. And also the chairpersons and the moderators of all the sessions, you are commendable. And the last year I'll say that this is only possible because of the exceptional efforts by Dr. Mandeep Singh, who's actually made this event a memorable for, everyone, for all of us. And your organization skills, and handling of situation is laudable. And I am personally very much impressed, by the way the seminar is organized. And I will again say that I'm saying this again and again, maybe you're feeling, but I'm again saying that I'm really very much impressed personally by the presence of Vice Chancellor in this event, which itself personally I'm feeling it's a very great and significant steps for us, and all those who are watching. And this message should go very loud and clear to, in the education fraternities and all the universities. And thank you so much, Professor Manoj Dar, for coming here.
Thank you.
And thank you for giving me this time to share my feedback. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Mandeep, your mic is not unmuted. Please unmute your mic.
I request Dr. Shyamla Subramaniam, ma'am. Ma'am, please, can you give us your golden words? Ma'am, suggest us also so that we can improve also.
Professor, please unmute your mic.
Okay. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
we can hear you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Mandip, Dr. Beno, and as Dr. Rakesh put it very nicely, it is a big honor to have the Vice Chancellor moderate a session, not only be present, but moderate a session. What is this? It gave me a very pleasant surprise just now. So a big congratulations to Cluster University of Jammu and Professor Manoj Dar, the Vice Chancellor. I think yesterday I also recollect having a nice introduction by Professor Twinkle and Dr. Mandip, and there are many people in this conference that have played a big role. Unfortunately, we always remember the ones who always interact with us. This conference is very timely. One thing beautiful is we've locked a date that's very significant for the International Yoga Day as well as the Olympic Day as well. And if you look at the fundamentals of the Olympic Day, you can't imagine the amount of magnitude of power sports have if it can stop war. Even at the time, it was during the olden Greek mythology when you read about how the Olympic Games were held and so on and so forth. And if you look at the power of the Olympic movement now, it's tremendous. However, I think in society, what we have very difficult now, especially in terms of our growing youth and the environment they are living in, is so challenging. It's so different from a long time ago when things were challenging, yet it was highly, I think, constrained within many parameters of life. Today, if you look at the life of youth, when they enter the society, it is so filled with many challenges, yet there are many opportunities. I think conferences such as this nature, as what you have done today, it's fantastic to see numbers like 200 people, being online. And as Dr. Rakesh put it very well, I think gathering people within this environment and having engagement. I think one beautiful thing I noticed about this conference, it's very engaging with the participants. They've taken the trouble to write comments. They've taken the trouble to ask questions. To interact. I've got some who have been very kind to become my Facebook friend and had messages and so on. And the magnitude of this conference is very good because it's helping people work together as a global family for us to come up with a solution for problems that we seem very much investing our time, but we still cannot find an absolute and ideal solution how to make everything perfect for youth, how we want to empower the society. Now, why do we want to empower the society is because we want our society to grow up feeling more inspired to make a difference, as what I mentioned earlier, with other people's life. Now, as Mandip told me just now, I have actually no suggestion for you, Mandip, and your wonderful team, because you have done an absolutely beautiful job. I think, in this global world, in this challenging world that we live, people are becoming very full of themselves, that is the world. The world I live in, I see many different kind of people. People who feel they are very great with a lot of achievement. People who are great but do not think they are great. People who have no achievement who think they are great. And everybody spends quite a lot of time trying to make others feel small and they're big. And actually, when you look at it, it actually doesn't really matter at the end of the day, because what's most significant is whether we are able to contribute in this one lifetime that we have given. I think I like what Professor Manoj said just now. This pandemic has actually rocked the world. It's given us a very, very tight and hard slap on our face that them as great as what men think they are, actually we boil down to nothing. You can imagine if you're stuck in your house and you can't even go out to get a grocery, and I can't imagine the amount of sanitizers I have in my car, in my house, in my office. I'm literally spraying every day, we're so scared. And when I go home, my mother sends me straight up to go and have my bath, and I have to wash. And, it's changed my life completely. In my busy schedule, I usually send all my clothes to the laundry. I've ended up washing it myself now. I've learned how to cook. Dal palak is my favorite that I go to the restaurant now. I learned how to do it. And fundamentally, you cannot imagine how much of enlightenment this kind of situation has created me, because it's given a hard knock on our head. Now, when we talk about sports, sports, ironically, as important as it is, it's always like what I told in my talk, it's not like education. It hasn't reached that yet. I'm being very honest with you. We want it to reach like that. In Malaysia, whenever I meet the parents in our program, I tell them quite frankly, the day sports will be given its respect is when parents are willing to pay for their children to come into sports. Just like tuition. If you look at education, even art, parents send their kids to learn how to get an art to get an A. And it's fantastic if you look at education, the respect education has, because there is no question. Any parent will ask anyone in education, if my child studies, what will my child get? But if you look at sports, ironically, the amount of benefit it gives a child, but they will ask you, will my child get a t-shirt? Will you pay for the transportation? Where will my child stay? I always tell people, we need to come up with a model that people will invest into sports from their own pocket. That way, administrators of sports like all of us will not have to crack our head, how do we get sponsorship by the millions for us to organize something. I give you a simple example about mineral water. I don't know whether it happens in other countries, but sometimes it happens in Malaysia. If you give mineral water to the players, they'll drink it and then they'll put it down and then they'll forget if that's their bottle. And then they will take another bottle. So within that bottle, there's sometimes a little water, sometimes a lot of water. But because they didn't pay for the water, okay. But if you bring it in a Tupperware, when I played for the national team, I remember all of us had our own Tupperware, and we had our own water bottle, and we used to fill it up, and we knew how much of water we needed to make sure we don't get dehydrated. This itself is a very beautiful gauge, for you to see how matured whether our youth are or not. Whether they will want to invest in the amount of water, they expect the sports administrator to give them enough water. And if they don't have, if we don't provide that, they probably just opt and say, I'm dehydrated because you didn't have the brains to go and get enough sponsorship to get me water. So we need to think out of the box. We need to get people to understand, because custodians of sports, actually we have so much of benefit in sports. People who involve in our domain of sports, they will change their character. They get to represent the country. They get to become iconic people, and people want to be like them. Whenever you look at any national player winning, you will cry in joy, because it's so much of happiness. People will watch television in the airport. I almost missed my flight when our badminton player Dato' Lee Chong Wei played against Lindan in the semi-finals, and everybody made the plane wait for half an hour to see the finals finish at that time. So when we own such a magnificent domain like sports, what we all need to do is we need to know how to change it and reorientate it, so the people like parents and youth and athletes give it enough respect so it becomes the other way around. That means we don't go begging for people to come and get themselves involved in sports. We don't get them to feel that we have to provide a landscape that is so lucrative. You will come in because you will get this. What people should understand very well is we need to reorientate this whole architecture of the sports so it becomes exactly like education. People will want to invest. But lastly, I would like to say, it all depends on how we run it. How much of respect we give to our sportsmen, how much of respect we give to this. One of the things I mentioned in my talk yesterday, whenever you are in sports, unfortunately, whatever happens comes out in the back page. And if the slightest of mistake, the words that I have engraved the vocabulary given to many times when we don't achieve targets, the names are being called and published in the back page of the newspaper is unbelievable, because it's that important sports. But what we need to do is we need to make sports look good. We need to educate administrators and people who are dying very much to be part of this sports family, to stop bad-mouthing and bickering among each other and make it look good. And if you have an undercurrent of politics inside, you need to keep it in such a way that the undercurrent works below, but the public doesn't see it so public will have respect for sports, and that's important. So I think what you've done at this conference is amazing. I'm very proud and very humble to be part of this great thing. I enjoyed Ina's talk just now with her vibrant. I managed to join in after my meeting, and so many people involved, and you're very, very, I think the best trait of human you have is that you are so humble while being so great, all of you all. I think, you know, that's amazing for the organizers of this. I really mean it from the bottom of my heart. It's not easy to get so many people here, and you are so welcoming to everyone. So I wish you all the very best. Thank you very much for making me part of this, and well done. Fantastic job.
Thank you, madam. We are obliged. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Now we having the participant that has been connected. It's dark out there. Can you explain about yourself, where you calling from? I think you have registered from Canada. Am I audible to you? Hello? Ravneet, can you unmute yourself? We move on to some participants. Hello? Rahul Asthana, you want to say something? You want to give feedback? Dr. Saroj Kumar Panda. Sir, please unmute yourself. I'm allowing you to talk, please, sir. Hello, can you hear? So without not wasting much of the time, we'll proceed further in the final. Almost we are in the end of the session, and in this conclusion part of this section, we request our Honorable Vice Chancellor for sir, please present your final presidential remarks to us. The Honorable Vice Chancellor, please, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Mandeep, and it has been really a wonderful experience to be a part of this webinar today. And as I can see that all the participants who have, all the experts, I would say, learned speakers who have joined from various parts of the world, they have very explicitly said things about how we should be inculcating and developing the sports facilities. I very much liked the idea which was shared by Professor Alexander regarding the sports scientists. I don't know. I am sorry if I have misspelled your name, because I thought this is how it should be. Maybe sorry for that if it is not correct. But
it is correct. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. So it was a great experience to interact with all of you face to face, and some of the points which you have raised are very valuable points. Professor Shamla in the end also spoke about various aspects as to how we can develop the sports infrastructure as well as the manpower, because we need to strengthen our sports culture. And you talked about sports scientists. I think is a most valuable suggestion, that when we talk in terms of development of a discipline, and if we give it a recognition of a discipline, then definitely this discipline must be developed in the most scientific way. And I think is a very important takeaway from this recommendation from this seminar. And similarly, there are many other recommendations. I have also noted down some of them, but definitely I will look forward to the organizers compiling the whole set of recommendations, and we will be working on that. That will perhaps constitute our working paper for future as well. So it has been a wonderful opportunity to interact with all of you. From Jammu, I wish to thank all of you for being a part of this wonderful seminar. Thank you so much. And it was any way possible because of the technology that we could actually hear you and we could listen to the valuable suggestions and your opinion about how to go about the value education, especially sports education in the country. I would also like to compliment the organizers, Dr. Twinkle, and all the deans of the cluster university who have come together. Dr. Mandeep Singh, especially because you have done wonderful job. This is my first interaction with you, but I can see that you have done it wonderfully well. My congratulations and compliments to you and to the organizers who thought of this webinar in the first instance and then executed it in a most perfect manner. And again, once again, I wish all the success to all of you and wish you best of luck, best of everything in life. Be safe in this COVID-19 situation. I think sports alone can give us a message that we will come out of it. We will be through this pandemic situation, and we will all be trying to rebuild our things, because while in this pandemic situation there have been many problems here and there, and we need to maybe rebuild certain things as we come out of this situation, and with this resolve, as is true of a true sportsman, that we will fight it out, and we will come out as winners. And ultimately that is the kind of spirit we need to maintain. So in this pandemic situation, organizing such webinars and such events is also doing something great, because it's keeping us engaged, and it's also helping us to keep ourselves engaged, and for our health and well-being, this is important that we keep alive our own pursuits of academics, our pursuits of knowledge sharing. So I think in that perspective, again, this is a wonderful opportunity. Thank you so much for making me a part of this, and I hope we'll be able to do things better in the coming future. Thank you so much, and once again, my compliments to all the members of the family of Cluster University of Jammu, because this is my first interaction with them also. So my best wishes and my compliments to you for doing a wonderful job. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. We are obliged, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Your motivational word was something that developed us a kind of propensity in us to devote ourselves to education, to work really good for the society. We will keep on progressing under your Vinat, your guiding hand, sir. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot, sir. We are really grateful to you, sir. Moving on for the vote of thanks, sir. So without wasting any much time, we cannot neglect the personalities that really, without these personalities, it would not have been a success, sir. I am really grateful to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Manoj Kumar, our father of this family, and really, sir, we are really obliged. Thank you very much, sir. Founder Vice Chancellor, Cluster University, Professor Anju Bhasin, was really so excited about the things, and they authorized the things. They managed the things so well. So we are really grateful to Professor Anju Bhasin, ma'am. Our registrar sir is something, is a kind of man, just we have to reach out to registrar somehow, and he is always open with the words. Do this, do that, okay, you are okay. And yes, ye bhi karo, wo bhi karo. We are so glad. We are really blessed by the great God that we having such a great registrar. And the Dean Students Welfare Cluster University, Professor Dr. Twinkle Suri, is just the force, the motivational force behind all these things. Dr. Twinkle Suri, we are really grateful to you. As a director of this international conference, we are really grateful to you, ma'am. We are really grateful to the resource persons, Professor Alexander, Dr. Roberto, Professor Daus Shyama Subramaniam, Professor Rakesh Tomar, Ian Hussain, Dr. Ian Hussain, Dr. Sanjay Godwin Formoshes, Dr. J.N. Balia, Mr. Ranjit Kalra, and Paris Yusufi. Really, I'm really grateful. We are really grateful to these people. Dr. Benu Gupta, really, I want to put this name. Madam, you are really great. You assisted us in the way you actually did the great job. You made me motivated, and you I'm really grateful to you. Now I'm taking a name of Dr. The person who is very simple and who is really who comes up with the words, who is the force behind the sports organizations, and he is Dr. Vinod Bakshi. Sports Coordinator, Cluster University of Jammu, sir, you are a great man, and I cannot forget you throughout my life, sir. Dr. Vinod Bakshi, we are really grateful to you. I'm really grateful to all the deans. I'm really grateful all the principals of constituent colleges of Cluster University of Jammu, all the participants. That's really great. And there was a time when we have crossed 314 something number, and we have to put back the mails not to join, please, and we have to put back mails that we cannot make you join because we cannot send you the links. We cannot cross the limits. We are really grateful to my participants, to all participants. Thanks a lot. Thanks very much. And of course, Dr. Jhanjaria, Dr. Professor Anek sir from Jammu University. There are a number of individuals, Madhuri from Mumbai University, Suman Pandey from Pune University, Dr. Chetna Kumar. So I'm really grateful to you. And at the last, if I have to say that the real, a face of a God, something that really teaches us that how to do. If we control our mind, we control our whole efforts, we control our complete body. So, Dr. Twinkle Suri. Thank you, ma'am. So nice. Professor Twinkle Suri, Dean Students Welfare. Ma'am, you are really great. Thank you, ma'am. Thanks a lot. And I haven't made this vote of thanks very formal. The reason was quite clear. I do not want to be the formal person in this situation because I know it was late night, 3 a.m., 3 p.m. Twinkle Suri, ma'am, was just, even a single ring, ma'am, was open. Okay, Mandeep, just say, what's happened, what I can do for you. I'm really grateful to you. I'm really grateful to Dr. Vinod Bakshi, and at the last, father of this family. But thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. You have given your valuable time, and thanks a lot, sir. Thanks everyone. Thanks every participant. Thanks everyone. And as far as the queries of the e-certificates and distributions of that, just after the conference, we are going to deliver that. And please give us, at least wait for the 3 or 5 days. Within that, you will be reaching, all the certificates will be reaching to you. Google may take some time. I think I have heard that it's 100 certificates can reach in a day, within 24 hours. So don't worry about that. And please keep us motivating, keep joining us. We will try our best to provide you best resource persons. We'll try our best to contribute in the knowledge of yours. Thank you very much. Thanks everyone. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much.
Three cheers to Mandeep and Cluster University. 3 cheers to you guys.
Thank you, ma'am. So nice. So nice. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.